Blank check with Griffin and David. Blank check with Griffin and David. Don't know what to say or to expect. All you need to know is that the name of the show is Blank Check.
You could have gone up there. You could still go.
No, sweetheart. I'm an old woman now. I would rather he remember me the way I was.
How do you know he's still alive?
I don't know. Not for sure. But I believe he is. You see, before he came down here, it never snowed. And afterwards, it did. And if he weren't up there now, I don't think it would be snowing. Sometimes you can still catch me podcasting in it.
She did start a podcast after Edward went up to the... We know that.
Right.
That's in the movie.
Right. This is Sarah Koenig. They don't draw that line directly, but it's implied.
We know.
Right.
Yeah.
She says, was a non-guilty.
That's her final line that they cut out because they went like, the audiences, they're not going to get
They're
this.
not ready. They're not ready
They're like
for that.
20 years ahead of getting this.
Yeah.
Hello, everybody. My name's Griffin Newman.
I'm David Sims.
It's a Blank Check with Griffin and David. It's a podcast about filmographies, directors who have massive success early on in their career, given a series of blank checks to make whatever crazy passion projects they want. Sometimes those checks clear, and sometimes they bounce, baby. And this is maybe, I'm realizing while we're covering this, other than...
We're talking about Tim Burton.
We're talking about the films of Tim Burton. This main series called Podward Scissorcast. And of course,
the title episode.
This is the title episode. I don't think we've ever covered a filmography where it goes this long without a bounce.
Well, Cameron, maybe. James Cameron, maybe.
But Abyss.
Yeah. Abyss isn't a bounce, but yeah.
Abyss, in terms of cost, expectations.
He has 5 without a bounce, though, because Ed Wood is technically a bounce.
That's what I'm saying, but 5 without a bounce is pretty...
5 movies in a row to start your career is pretty impressive. 5 great successes. Yes.
Especially because they get, one could argue, progressively weirder and weirder.
Yeah.
Even though Batman is like a very commercial thing to make a movie about.
Right.
They're weird movies.
Yeah. And then Batman Returns being the weirdest, do you think? Weirder than this?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
I think maybe.
Because I think this movie conforms to the expectations set up by itself.
Yeah, no, I
like
get
here is a sad,
I'm with you.
tragic
I'm with you.
fairy tale. Right, whereas Batman Returns is just like,
well, and also
people are evil.
Right, but
for 2 hours and 20 minutes.
Yeah.
What were you going to say?
Well, this is like a Frankenstein movie, so we're more ready for like a monster to be in a Frankenstein movie.
Yeah. I mean, I rewatched on the special features they had like the promotional featurette where they went to the mall and they went up to people with a microphone. And they
you mean like after they'd seen the movie?
No,
like,
before.
Oh, okay.
This was like the EPK they put together to be like, people are wondering who is Edward Scissorhands. And then you see them at the mall and they're like, Edward Scissorhands?
It's a good title.
Edward Scissorhands? No, I ain't ever heard of him. Like, it's people doing that. And it's like a supercut of like 15 of them.
People like walking out of JCPenney.
But that was their whole take, is just like, you've never met a guy like Edward Scissorhands before. But they straight out say it's Tim Burton's modern take on Frankenstein.
Right.
Like, they went as far as they could without saying it's Tim Burton remaking Frankenstein. But then the other part of that was the poster for this movie was like him with the butterfly looking like he was about to cry. And the tagline is an uncommonly gentle man.
Well, there's this that is the sort of Burton invites you.
Oh, sure. That's the one that I thought had the butterfly, but I think that was photoshopped later for the DVD.
Right. And then the uncommonly gentle man one is the one where he's with Winona. Right.
So what's the tagline on the one that's him in profile? Is there
the director of Batman and Beetlejuice invites you to meet his
I think after Beetlejuice,
creation.
you're ready to... I think audiences are ready.
I think that's a pretty good tagline to just go from the director of Batman and Beetlejuice.
So it's like another cookie.
It's
like
one of those.
Wild hair.
There was there was the haircut themed poster.
That poster is
Edward
crazy.
was here.
Yeah.
I have never seen that poster, man.
I believe there's 2 of them. There's the one with the haircuts and then there's the one with the like topiary.
Yeah, they really kind of sold this as a comedy.
Sure. And also a Christmas movie, which it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But you're right. I mean, this is the main thing we've been talking about in this miniseries is how much, how quickly Tim Burton established himself as like a clear brand that people got.
Yeah. And just like, oh, another one of those.
Right.
Yeah.
Which was surprising because he is so esoteric. It was weird that
but once you get it, you get it. It's like once
way.
you pick up the his language, you can understand what the rules of his universe. I think that if anything, this might have caught people off guard because it was so sweet.
I think that was the thing.
Yeah,
this was less
the name
ironic.
suggests a horror movie.
Sure.
The name suggests a horror movie,
Right.
and Beetlejuice was kind of spooky. Batman was spooky in its own way, and this one wasn't spooky. This is so kind and sweet. It's like a children's movie.
A very sincere children's film. Now, here's my transition. I feel like you have carved out a similar niche for yourself in comedy.
As Tim Burton?
As the Tim Burton of comedy.
As the Tim Burton of comedy, I don't know. I think I keep thinking of how fun it would be for, say, like a Lorelai Ramirez to revisit. I fantasize with a Beetlejuice remake starring Lorelai Ramirez.
She would do a good job. Our guest today, of course, is Julio Torres.
Hi.
Comedian.
Hello, Julio.
You've written for Saturday Night Live, and you have your own show that's coming down the pipeline now.
Oh, which is
Los Spookies.
Yeah, that's true. It's a spooky show.
It's
Is it called Spooky Show?
It's a gently spooky show.
Right, it's kind of like a horror-themed comedy.
Yes. Yeah.
It's not a horror comedy, but much like Tim Burton, it's a comedy using
themed in that world.
Right,
yeah.
the world of horror and spooks.
Right. I'm definitely not as interested in Christmas as Tim Burton is.
No,
Tim Burton is obsessed with Christmas.
He likes Christmas a lot.
He does like
and
Christmas
this and
a lot.
Returns are back to back. These are two Christmas
movies
in a row. But I feel like you had this like very sort of meteoric rise where like I feel like the second you started performing, people were like, "Oh, that's what he's doing." And it was a similar thing to Tim Burton. I'm not saying you directed Batman, but where you have like a very specific like universe that you build around your comedy, I think.
Well, which is what I like about directors like Tim Burton, where it's like Beetlejuice and Scissorhands are just, I mean, yes, they're rooted in Frankenstein and these other stories, but they're I like the idea of audiences being like, what is that? And then that becoming a Halloween costume for the rest of time.
Sure.
That is just my biggest dream, is to create something where like liberal arts students all over dress up as that, and people are like, what is that? And then they sort of explain, and they're like, oh yeah, I think I saw that.
People sell unlicensed fan art shirts on Zazzle.
Yes, yes. Oh my god.
Do you find, so now that you've created a TV show,
which does not exist yet.
Which doesn't exist yet.
Yeah.
Did you find yourself trying to put stuff in pointedly in the hopes that like, oh, this will be something that someone could easily make into a Halloween costume?
I think that with there are a couple of opportunities.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
There are a couple of opportunities there.
No spoilers.
Yeah.
So this movie,
Edward Scissorhands.
I was very surprised digging into this. I've been very surprised by the timeline, the development of his movies, because it was different than I thought it was.
Okay.
But he comes up with this
Beetlejuice
pitch.
was later.
Yes. No, Beetlejuice is second.
Whoa.
And he comes up with this pitch while he's developing Beetlejuice.
Mm-hmm.
So all he's done is Pee-wee. Beetlejuice was a script that Warner Brothers has. And while he's working on Beetlejuice, he's like, I got this other idea. This was apparently in the most like Tim Burton origin story ever. He had just made this drawing when he was 16 years old.
Right.
And he held on to this drawing forever and was like, that's probably a movie,
like
right?
A slender boy.
Yeah, with Scissorhands.
All black with scissor. I feel like this the hands are sort of,
yes.
He's holding them like this. He's holding them down.
Yeah. The blades are always down because he's gentle and he's aware.
Right. He's afraid of hurting
his
anyone.
Power,
right.
So he's
right, but he looks like a begging dog.
Yeah.
I was taken by how much this character feels like a dog watching this movie.
Oh, sure. I didn't
like
see that.
Like a very timid little, like, toy-sized dog.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I feel like his whole vibe and his, like, body language and all of that. My father has a very neurotic dog, and I just kept on watching this and being like, this is like Scruffy Newman.
Also like a dog, so much of the tension with playing
Yes.
with the dog is
Right.
whether or not the dog will attack.
Right. There's that.
It's
There's
like
that
whether
sort
or
of
not
thing.
the dog will lose it, and
Yes.
because the dog has the power of really hurting you.
Right, and not understanding how things work and getting scared easily by
Yes,
everything, but then also
yeah.
sometimes lashing out or not understanding its own power, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But he said that Edward Scissorhands was like, he's a doodler. He's a watercolor guy. He's always got his little notebook on him.
Mm-hmm.
And he had drawn this of just like, this is how I feel.
Sure.
When he was 16. It was like the original Tumblr page was Tim
Right.
Burton's notebook.
But he invented Tumblr here,
yeah,
right?
I mean,
that's
kinda.
what this is.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
this run of the first 5 films is sort of him inventing
But
Tumblr.
this one more than anything, because this one doesn't have a plot otherwise.
Sure.
Anyway, well, keep talking. I'm sorry.
Well, this is
We're
like
getting ahead of myself.
hashtag TFW the movie.
Sure. It's any of those things.
Right.
It's whatever you want to say about sad youths of the 90s and 2000s.
Right. He sort of crystallized. He's like, I'm going to, I don't think this was what he set out to do.
sad suburban youth. It's sort of a
right. And obviously, of a middle class, sort of upbringing and everything. But I think it was like, he was like, I want to make a movie about how I feel weird. And then he ended up making something that pretty universally spoke to just like a feeling of weirdness that people could just sort of like map onto whatever. Because the character is so otherworldly and dog-like.
Also, I love that it's clearly established what exactly Edward is, right?
Right. Yeah.
We don't know that there's some suggestion that he's some sort of like reanimated, but it's also
Right.
could have been just a guy.
or that he's a robot
he was
man.
experimented
Right.
on, or
Because the only thing you see is that there's the book, Vincent Price's book,
right.
where you see the wind flipping through the pages and the stages of it.
Right.
But you never get a sense of what his...
I mean, do we?
No, he's like a construct of
Right.
some kind. He
can
I don't
eat
know.
food,
He can eat food. He's
which is
like
kind
a
of
human.
interesting. Right.
He can bleed. Like
right.
Does he bleed?
yeah, because he cuts himself.
Yeah,
he cuts
on his
himself,
face,
but
but
does he
like-
bleed?
Yeah, there's a little, spot of blood right
Oh,
at the
okay.
because that's one reason Diane Weiss is so nice to him.
Yeah.
Oh,
right.
yes,
The first
yeah.
time he nicks himself in front of her. But he takes this drawing. I mean, I guess he's starting to set himself up and realize people might be buying into what I'm selling. So he goes to Warner Brothers. He's like, look, I got this drawing. I'd like to make a movie out of it. And they're like, cool, let's put that on the back burner, work on Beetlejuice. And he was developing it.
Yeah.
And then Warner Brothers was like, I don't know if this is like, how much money can we put into this fucking thing?
He also hires Caroline Thompson.
Here's
to write
Caroline
it.
Thompson. Caroline Thompson was a novelist. She had written a book about an aborted baby that comes back to life. And her whole kind of
Firstborn,
thing.
I believe
Yes.
it's called. Yes.
Which I believe Penelope Spheris was trying to make into a movie for a long time.
Yeah.
She had optioned it, hired Caroline Thompson to adapt her own script.
Yeah.
Never got made, but then people started having her write other scripts.
Right.
Adapt other things or adapt her own stories or write spec scripts based off of ideas. Because I think they said, oh, this is this person who's got this weird childlike whimsy combined with like grounding it in a human situation.
Can you tie him down and do an ABC?
Right. I think that was the notion.
Script.
Can we get someone who has basic storytelling fundamentals to take emotionally what he's talking about? He meets with her and she says he was the most articulate person I'd ever met who was incapable of stringing together a single sentence.
I was going to give you that quote. Yeah, it's a good quote.
And that's exactly what you're saying, Julio, is like the idea of like, okay, can you filter what he's saying into something that like makes sense to people? Because Beetlejuice rules, but it's also not a particularly emotional movie.
No.
And Batman, which at this point hasn't happened yet, is more of an action movie. Pee-wee is like a sketch movie. I think they were like, can you make this guy tell an emotional story? Can you make characters that he cares about? So Warner Brothers just says, we're not interested. Gives up the movie. Lets Fox pick it up. Then he makes Batman. And then like the day after Batman comes out, Fox is like, cool, we'll make Edward Scissorhands tomorrow.
Right. But also every other studio is like, if you want to make a movie, let us know.
Right.
And so he did kind of have his pick of the litter, but he's like, I want to do Edward Scissorhands right now.
Right.
Like, yeah, well, we're going to
He jumps straight into it, comes out the year after Batman. Right. He's got this list of the actors he wants to do it. Fox wanted him to hire Tom Cruise.
Right.
Tom Cruise for Scissorhands?
Correct. He meets
God.
with Tom Cruise and he goes, didn't go over very well.
No.
Apparently Tom Cruise asked for
he
a
needs
happy
a sensitive
ending.
boy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And Tom Cruise at this point is all about winning.
Yeah, he's just done he's about to do Born on the 4th of July because that's 89.
Days of Thunder.
Sure.
Yeah, he's in that pocket. And then the other people
because he sees Tom Cruise as like the boyfriend, the blonde boyfriend character.
Probably.
Right.
He's Anthony Michael Hall. Right. Yeah.
Which it's so fucking funny that
Chase or Bryce
Michael
or whatever
Hall
his
in this
name is.
movie.
Yeah.
It is great. It's that thing, right? Anthony Michael Hall having been the dweeb for 5 odd years, right? In various John Hughes movies.
Breakfast Club's 86.
Is it that?
Like, what year is
I didn't
his
even
last
realize that was him.
John Hughes movie in relation to this? I think there's only
It's 85, and then Weird Science is 85 too.
Okay.
Yeah. And he weirdly has only been in 2 movies since then, Out of Bounds and Johnny Be Good, neither of which are,
Right.
hits.
Right, but Johnny Be
But
Good
he's
was the
been
start of
kind of
him trying to be
beefing up.
jock because he
Right,
plays like a fucking quarterback in that, right?
Yes.
There's that amazing interview with Anthony Michael Hall after he's done the John Hughes movies, after he's become the youngest ever cast member on Saturday Night Live. After being in the teen films, he was on Saturday Night Live when he was 16 or 17.
Sure. Yeah. I can look it up.
And then he went on MTV News and was wearing sunglasses. And they went
I think he was 19, 18 or 19. But go on.
They went, how do you feel about playing all these nerd characters? And he goes, nah, man, nah, don't use the N-word in front of me.
No.
And he says it that way. He's like, nah, man, don't use the N-word.
Wow.
Right.
Yeah.
I think he was also in the, a lot of 80s young star. He was an alcoholic by the age of 18. You know what I mean? He had drinking and drug problems from a young, because you're in the soup. You're in this,
But I think
Brat Pack soup.
I think he thought of himself as a serious character actor.
Okay.
He had met with Stanley Kubrick about doing Full Metal Jacket.
Sure.
And then I think he felt so self-conscious about being pigeonholed into the nerd thing that then he went so hard in the other direction.
Right.
And was like, I'm just going to play humorless bros.
But he does play.
This is great.
He's great in this.
Well, he is good in this.
Yeah. It's just crazy that it's the same person only 5 years later.
I know. Yeah.
Because he looks 2 feet taller.
He does. He looks huge.
Well, that's those low Tim Burton
low
angles.
It's
Right,
true.
right.
It's a lot of low
He's
angles.
helping him
That's
out.
a lot of low
Yeah.
angles in this movie, especially with this character, because
Yes.
it's you see it from Scissorhands' point of view, who feels smaller than him.
Right. And Winona is 2'1".
Winona's not a tall woman.
She's a little Thumbelina lady.
Yeah.
She seems statuesque in this
Yes,
film.
she does.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the other people that Tim Burton was apparently interested in were Gary Oldman.
Oldman passed.
Right.
Hanks passed.
Right. I mean, they were going to all the big leading men.
Hanks passed to do Bonfire of the Vanities, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, but good call still for all involved.
Sure. Oldman actually, right, there's a quote from him where he was like, I didn't get it. And then when I saw the movie 2 minutes in, I was like, oh, I get it. Now I get it. He just needed to see what Burton was doing. And he was
the
like,
PDF was not convincing.
The script made no sense to him, but once he saw it, he made sense to him.
I mean,
That's great. That's the best kind of thing.
Oh, yeah. This movie doesn't work if the character is that much of a grown man. Right?
Well, yeah. I mean, you're
It'd
right.
be really creepy. If it was Hanks or Oldman or any of them. Cruise was the right age, but is the wrong energy. You get why they wanted Hanks, because they're he's our biggest star. He can do anything. He can do comedy or drama. You have someone like Gary Oldman who's he transforms himself. He's a chameleon. He gets into it.
Right.
But you kind of need someone who has a blank slate in terms of their relationship to the audience at this point, the way that Johnny Depp did.
Yeah.
Because he was just, that pretty boy.
Yeah.
People didn't really have much of a take on him other than he's a heartthrob. He's on a TV show.
He was on a TV show.
He's gotten killed in a couple movies.
Sure. Edward,
Platoon and Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah, Nightmare on Elm Street. He gets, another scissor-handed man.
But I don't think there was any sort of sense of that's the Johnny Depp vibe, which then he cultivates too hard.
Sure.
Yeah, then he...
Right.
That becomes his thing.
But I think at this point it was casting Jai Courtney or whatever. It's they cast some hunky guy.
Or DiCaprio or someone like that.
Maybe.
But even DiCaprio was so
slender,
much
pretty.
Yeah, DiCaprio I feel hit the ground running as he's a serious actor. He's this serious child actor. I mean, he does Growing Pains, but then it's Gilbert Grape. You're this is this very committed 15-year-old.
Right, that's true.
What are you laughing about, Griffin?
Sorry, David. Sorry to steer
Smirking.
us off course in this episode. I'm just thinking about how wise I have been about my investments recently.
Oh, you've been buying and selling stocks or options, cryptos, ETFs?
Yeah, no, I've been buying and selling stocks because of course, Robinhood's sponsoring the show.
Yeah, friends of the show.
They've been sponsoring the show many times recently.
You can use it on your phone.
And
very
I finally
easy.
took their advice, and I went down to my local grocery store and I bought $15,000 worth of celery stocks. So I'm in the money,
He's
baby.
saying the wrong word. He's saying stocks.
Yeah, stock trading, right? The stock market. That's what we're talking about.
I mean, look. I don't know what you might be able to offload your celery. And all luck to you.
That's what people say. They want to make green, right? And so you got to buy stocks.
But with Robinhood, it's more just a thing on your phone that makes financial services work for everyone. It's like a very non-intimidating way for stock market newcomers to invest for the first time with true confidence.
So you find buyers for your celery? I don't get. Please continue.
Well, there are definitely buyers and sellers, not celeries.
Sure.
But there's
difference of opinion.
No commission fees. The cost is very low. Other brokerages can charge like $10 per trade, and Robinhood doesn't charge commission fees at all. You can keep all your profits if you trade stocks.
Right. No, we're
From the
on the
stock
same
market.
page.
Mhm.
So what about shipping? Because, celery, of course, is a perishable. We're both on the same page here, but
I'm just going to just say that we're both on the same page. Well, anyway, shipping, that's all built in and easy to understand charts and market data. You can place a trade in 4 taps on your cell phone. And, it just sorts all the stocks by categories like, female CEOs.
sure.
And social media.
Sort of
Most popular.
tallest, shortest, thickest, thinnest.
Exactly. And, you can have a personalized news feed to keep up with new stocks.
Uh-huh. Right. Yeah, I guess I don't know. I can't remember the last time there was a new type of celery, but I guess it might happen at some point.
So clearly you've totally got a handle on Robinhood, the great friends of the show, and you're going to have a lot of success going forward.
Robinhood, he's got a little green hat too, right? So that's good branding.
Robinhood's giving listeners a blank check, a free stock like Apple or Ford or Sprint to help build your portfolio.
David, this is so silly. They don't call them Apple stocks, okay? Apple is its own fruit. An Apple stock is not a thing that exists.
David, he definitely gets it. So
I
just
get it.
keep
We're on
going.
the same page.
Yeah.
Keep going.
I agree
Keep
that he
going.
gets it.
I'm just trying
Yeah.
to correct you because it's silly. Apple is a fruit, not a
Apple.
vegetable.
So if you sign up at check.robinhood.com, you can get a free stock like Apple, Ford, or Sprint. So just go to check.robinhood.com and you can sign up today, get a free stock.
I have to go all the
Use
way to the Czech
Robinhood.
Republic in order to use Robinhood. This is just going to cost me so much money to fly there.
No, it really doesn't cost you any money at all. It's just check.robinhood.com.
Oh, yeah, we're on the same page.
The same year, so in April,
Yeah.
and Edward Scissorhands is in December, I think,
Mhm.
he did Cry Baby, the John Waters movie.
Okay,
And then after this, he does not do a movie for 3 years.
crazy.
And then he does Benny and June
Yeah.
and What's Eating Gilbert Grape, speaking of DiCaprio.
So this is the year he picks like 2 subversive directors and is
And
like,
has-
I want to mock
Well,
my...
not only that, and has
Yeah.
quit 21 Jump Street,
Right.
which goes on without him.
And if he had any reputation at this point, it was that he was a brat on 21 Jump Street. Like
Sure.
all the stories were like he hated the show.
Right.
And he'd come on set wearing stupid costumes so that they'd try to fire him. Like he would like... He was constantly trying to get kicked off the show because he thought it was dumb. And then I think everyone thought it was strange that he was doing this.
Sure.
And then this made his career.
It made his career.
For better
Yeah,
or worse.
Totally.
This is like, I mean, this kind of becomes like the thing. And I feel like so much of his reputation back, because it is easy to forget that for like 13 years or so, he felt like he was like the artiest of the movie stars.
Yes. Until Pirates, he is the one where you almost don't understand how he still gets to be a movie star. Right. Because
Right.
he only makes weird movies. And
Most of them didn't
they don't
do
really
well.
make a lot of money.
This was kind of his only hit until Pirates.
Basically, yes.
And he's like
I think Donnie
unrecognizable.
Brasco
in
did
it.
okay.
Only commercial hit.
Yeah, only
Yeah,
commercial
yeah,
hit.
yeah. But
Donnie
then even,
Brasco
like,
is really the only other
Critics liked him, but he never got nominated for Oscars or
No.
anything. And then
Right,
he'd like
right.
you do these interviews and he'd be chain smoking.
He's sort of like he sort of occupies that same
Well-
space as you're like Angelica Houston's.
But he,
Right.
he was
the
an Angelica Houston
of his
type.
time. Yes,
He
most
also he dated Winona Ryder, and it was a real like teen beat kind of relationship. It was a huge
They were the it couple for the
it
weirdos.
couple in the early 90s.
You know what would
right.
be the equivalent if like they hired Cole Sprouse now.
Sure, yes, that's what it's like.
And,
Yeah.
and then he knocked it out of the park, right?
Right.
Like,
And
yeah,
he was
right.
amazing.
And everyone was like,
and
oh,
it's
and then he was good, right.
this kid who's like, his Instagram is not selfies, but they're like very, very like beautiful photography of cacti.
Right.
And he's in this like big teen show that you get the sense
Yes.
of like, does he think he's smarter? And,
right.
Yeah.
I think that was the whole thing, was like, does Johnny Depp think he's better than the show? Is he actually better than it? Or is he just a brat?
Right.
What proof is there he can actually act?
And also, he's just so pretty
Right.
at the time that I think he has the automatic judgment of like, well, he's a pretty boy. Like, what does he know? He's just got the chin, like, and
they're very much
cheekbones.
putting him through like all the magazine pieces and all the photo shoots and all that
he's
stuff. which
smoking
he, like,
cigarettes and being
hates.
like, I fucking,
Right.
you know, so he seems pretentious.
Right.
Right, he's wearing weird shit. You know, I mean, there's, you know, the thing, he dates Winona and then immediately gets the tattoo.
He also, well, when they break up, with Wino Forever.
Well, it was Winona Forever,
you mean, right,
and then
right,
he
yeah,
changed
yeah,
it to Wino Forever. But I think there was that thing of
He
like,
also dated Jennifer Grey and Sherilyn Fenn. He dated like every
Right.
cool girl
Yeah.
of the early 90s. Like,
Right.
you know, and he was married when he was like a baby.
yeah,
And they got divorced like before he even joined 21 Jump Street.
right. He was like, married and
He's a
divorced by like
romantic.
20. That whole thing. He
Yes.
kind of had the like
Passionate.
rock star poet, like
Right.
sort of, you know, kind of vibe around him. And then this performance is just like completely egoless.
Sure. Right. Totally.
And is some of the most sort of like committed, like physical comedy.
Yeah.
Right. It's Chaplin-esque.
Like
Yeah, 'cause-
4 lines.
Yeah, right. And watching it is just like, when people apply Chaplin-esque to things, there rarely is a character that is this sort of
When people
simple
apply
and
Chaplin-esque
elemental.
to things, they mean that they're quiet. I feel like that's
Right.
usually right. Like that's usually why people would say.
Or
you
they
know,
With
have,
the another performance that is sort of in the same
Mm-hmm.
school of performing that I saw last year that I loved. One of my favorite performances on film.
Can't wait for this.
Winnie the Pooh in the Christopher Robin.
Oh yeah,
agreed.
So
hard
much so.
agree.
Oh
God.
my god, he said so little. Just the Winnie's
like,
acting
baleful
choices.
stare.
Yes, of like his little paw through the fields, and just like
Oh
the
my god, that movie is so good.
his
yeah.
sadness in not understanding why sitting on honey
Yes.
was disruptive.
Right.
Yes.
what a gorgeous
I like when they're
performance.
walking him through the train station and he says, "Why is he in a cage?"
Yes.
About the ticket
Why is he in a
ticket
cage
conductor.
and he wants a balloon and he just wants a
He
balloon?
just wants a balloon.
I saw that movie with our friend Rebecca Bolness.
I have a lot to learn acting wise from Winnie the Pooh.
Oh, I mean, he's the
Because
master.
that's- Yeah.
He's the master. And he's been making it look effortless for 60 years.
Yes.
But I saw the movie, the lights came up, and I turned to her, and my first thought was like, I forgot that Winnie the Pooh is my favorite comedian.
He's very funny.
Yes.
Where it was just
It's
like that.
brilliant.
That movie so captures like when I would like read those books or watch the cartoons and just bust a gut, and I was
His little
like,
one-liners.
no one's
yeah.
a better joke writer than Pooh.
Yeah.
Pooh is
Sure.
the sharpest joke writer in the biz.
Oh, Pooh.
But then that movie adds like the winsomeness. That's the thing that links him up with Edward Scissorhands.
Yeah.
Is Pooh feels weirdly sad in that movie.
Pooh feels really sad.
He's
Pooh is
out of
very
place
sad.
in the same way
Yeah.
because of the whole Christopher Robin growing up.
Yeah.
There's not really a zone for him. They've all spread out. He's sort of just like a bear
Beautiful.
living in a tree by himself, not talking to anybody.
Yeah.
When I was young and I saw this movie for the first time, and I remember resisting watching it for a while.
This one?
Scissorhands.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
No, I resisted watching Winnie the Pooh in Christopher Robin until it came out.
Right.
Sure. Right.
And then I saw it opening weekend. Edward Scissorhands, I'd gotten so deep into Burton, and I held off on watching this one. It was maybe one of the last ones I watched.
What?
You're like, I can't become that.
I was very
I cannot
scared
give
by
in.
it. I was genuinely scared.
When I was a kid, I knew what Edward Scissorhands was, and everyone did because we all talked about it
Yeah.
in the playground because it's such a good name.
It's
That was the
like
thing.
iconic immediately.
Yes.
But I didn't see it, I guess, until I was a little older. But
It
I
came
thought it
out-
was scary.
It came out
90.
90.
90.
1990.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah.
See, I just remember it being one of those boxes in the video store that scared me.
Yes. Yeah, because the scars and the...
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the fact that he does look so sad and haunted.
And scary.
Right, like it wasn't, I knew that he wasn't a villain. I knew it wasn't a monster movie in a traditional
I
sense.
thought it was a monster.
But I was like, he looks scary and this looks sad. I
Sure.
think this movie, they're selling it about his loneliness, and I don't want to experience that.
Okay, so when do you see Edward Scissorhands then?
I probably see it when I'm maybe 9 or 10.
Oh, okay. You're still pretty young.
Yeah, I'm still pretty young, but I'm saying like 7 or 8, I got really into Burton, and this was the last one I had watched on VHS, and then became obsessed with it and watched it like obsessively. I hadn't seen it probably in 10 or 12 years, and watching it last night, I realized it's one of those movies I still probably know every word to because I watched it too much in middle school. But I do remember when it started, I was so nervous, like sitting watching a VHS in my living room by myself.
Because you felt it was bad in some way?
No, waiting for him to appear. It felt like the looming threat because you have like the happy suburban town. And as a kid, if I ever watched horror movies or movies that had mild thriller elements or any of that, I would just be like, oh, fuck, this is the part where it's going to stop being the setup and the scary stuff's going to happen.
Yes.
Like, I always like the part where
dreading night.
The
dreading
teenagers
darkness.
were hanging out, and I was like, it's safe. Nothing scary is going to happen. I'm fine.
Yet.
And then the second the monster's introduced, I'm like, now I'm stressed out for the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
This is-
I also dislike horror.
You
films.
just dislike
In
it.
general.
I currently feel that way.
Okay. Still,
Yeah.
to this day.
Yes.
Do you think that's part of why you like sort of like repurposing spooky stuff and making it funny?
I like it's more of I like mystery more than I like scary.
Sure.
And I like
The unknown.
strangeness and the
Right.
unknown more
Right.
than I like. I jump scares I can't handle.
Yeah.
I don't like a jump scare either. But I was about this. I was going to say when I was watching it, it was the same thing when I was a kid. Anytime I saw anything with a clown, where I was like, I don't want to watch the part where they're
Right.
going to be mean to the clown.
Yeah.
I like because
Which
which I
gonna
know
be mean to the
yes,
clown.
like, which
oh
I-
my
I
god,
know
that's
is
such a
coming.
beautiful dread to have.
I really
You
hated.
didn't
like,
want them to be mean to the clown.
David always related to clowns.
I
Oh, wow.
seriously like did not like it. Like
Yeah.
I would watch
Weird.
these like little. There was this. I don't know if they still exist anymore. The paper bag players. I wonder
Oh,
if-
yeah. You kidding me?
yeah, they still going?
I don't know. I used to go to those shows all
Right?
the time.
Remember?
They were like a
classic Upper West Side kid
a
thing
weird
to do.
Upper West Side children's theater company.
Yeah.
They were
Uh-huh.
adults, but they did shows for
kids.
shows. They
Yeah.
wrote a new review every year, and the bit was that like the costumes, the sets, and the props were all made out of like paper bags.
Right.
They were like big brown paper bags, and they'd be like, "I got to get my car."
And they would often have clowns, and the
Right.
clown would be the butt of the joke or whatever. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like,
Right.
And I just like when I was a
Paper
kid, I
bag
was like,
players.
I can't stand this. I can't leave the
Yeah.
fucking clown alone.
Wow.
You know. And Edward Scissorhands is the same. Whereas once he enters, I'm like,
Leave him alone.
you just know they're going to be mean to him eventually.
Yeah,
like,
as the
obviously
audience.
Diane is going to be nice, but apart from that, I'm like, oh god, everyone's going to turn on
Like,
Edward.
as the audience, you're so protective of him.
Yeah.
And you're so also relieved. Like I also rewatched it and so relieved that the dad is nice.
Oh my
Yeah.
god,
Because
Arkin
there's
is so good.
so
in this
many
movie.
Such a good
opportunities
performance. Yeah.
for that to not be the case.
Right.
Well,
But
I mean,
yes.
so relieved that he's like at worst mildly condescending.
yeah, at worst, he's an 80s dad where he's like, you need to get a job and stuff. It's good to be
Yeah.
responsible.
I love
Like,
that he just loves him and is just like, "What do you mean? I talk to him like a normal person."
Right,
like he
right.
doesn't even
Yeah.
Edward, listen. Yeah, right.
Ed.
Ed. Yeah, right.
But I just love that he approaches him like Edward Scissorhands has the exact same frame of reference as he does.
Right.
And then
Yes.
he can start any conversation with like,
Yeah.
"So you see the game last night?"
But that opening shot of
good.
Edward, you know, when Diane Weiss finds him, where he's so small, and
This is where I start freaking the fuck out.
the perspective of
Yeah.
the building that the set like makes him look
Yeah.
even smaller, and he's just so like wounded looking. You're like, that's when as a kid, and now I'm just
Yeah.
like, oh god, leave Edward alone.
Well, and here's my other thing. I wasn't worried about her messing up his life because
no. Weiss, you're
dude doesn't have much life to mess up at this point.
Well, also you just trust Diane Weiss like so
Yes.
completely.
Giving one of
from-
the most
right, yeah.
relaxing performances.
She's so fucking good. in
Oh,
this movie.
relaxing is a very good
Right? Like, I just think
adjective. For
I
that.
love
It's
her in
just-
general, but
Love
her
her.
entire demeanor,
You know
her
that she's
voice
on
is so
screen.
well applied here.
Everything will be just fine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's just got such an incredible energy in this thing. And Tim Burton is not always the best with his female characters. He is very prone to turning them into sort of just fetish
Well,
objects
Winona in this is a little bit of a
pure
cipher.
ice
Yes,
angels.
yeah,
Right.
Uh-huh.
But this character is so fucking good, and I was watching it trying to divorce. I mean, obviously, this is a movie that's written by a woman. Well, by a
written
woman.
by a woman.
Written by one woman.
Yes, Carolyn Thompson. Yeah.
But also, I think Weiss adds a lot to it. I mean,
Yes.
there's so much nuance to every one of her reaction shots where you see her playing her processing the enormity of Edward's life with every new detail that's revealed.
Well, and that first exchange they have where she's like, well, where are your parents or whatever? And he's like, my dad fell asleep and didn't wake up. And she's just like, oh. And then like, oh, you should come with me.
Right. And she, like, you see like 16 different thoughts go across her face and she doesn't let him see any of them. But that was the moment where I started freaking out for that reason, where I was like, okay, he's scary. He's hiding her in the shadows. But then I immediately started having like an existential panic over like thinking about what his life was up until that point.
Right.
I'm like, so he's like 20. He's never left this house.
Mm-hmm.
The guy's been dead for how long? He can't touch anything.
Yeah.
He keeps on cutting himself.
Yeah.
Like, just that sort of solitude made me like so deeply sad. But then the movie like becomes such a fun world because of how quickly everyone like warms to him.
When rewatching it as an adult, I was shocked and so amused by the fact that this mansion is at the very end of their street.
I know.
Like,
is
just
visible.
Their universe
cul-de-sac.
is so hermetic.
Yeah.
Is if people are living next to it and have never wondered,
Thought about it.
thought about it.
Like,
Well,
what's
that's
going
right.
on up there?
And it is necessity of running out of houses to sell makeup in
Right.
that
leads her
takes
there.
her 1 foot away
That's
into this completely
the setup.
other world. And
Yeah.
I love that. I love that because I mean it's a very like storybook device of being like, oh, these people are so involved in their own lives that have never questioned what's at the end of the street.
I also just love the idea of like, it's like to make a world so aggressively normal, all the weirdness had to be like clustered somewhere, and that's what created this place.
Yeah.
It's like they shoved it all to the side, and Vincent Price was just like, I'll live here then, just walked into a mansion.
Well, I think I've said this before in different contexts, but he grew up in Burbank. He said this movie is largely influenced by his upbringing in Burbank and how outside he felt in this very like conventional sort of suburban community. But the other thing that apparently they claim deeply influenced this movie is his time at California Institute of Arts, the college I dropped out of. And
what's it called? Paradise or whatever?
Valencia, California.
Oh, okay. Well, Paradise is a different place in California.
But on the tour, when I was like, Dad, I want to go here. This is the Tim Burton College. Because I went there because Tim Burton went there.
Oh, my God.
They said on the tour, and they were like, have any of you seen the movie Edward Scissorhands? And then everyone like raised their hand and like gasped. And they were like, so rumor has it Tim based the film on his experiences here being a weird kook on top of a mountain with this creepy suburban town that feared him down below.
Wait, is the creepy suburban town
Sorry,
the actual
creepy
town?
is the wrong term. Yes.
Or
but,
or did he feel like he was the one weird student and the other were like blissfully normal?
This is where the metaphor doesn't totally track. Because it's like a school.
Is it flattering to the school or is it not? Is my question.
I'd argue it's not.
Right.
No.
I would argue it's not. And it was really clear foreshadowing that I didn't pick up on about why I shouldn't go there.
Uh-huh.
But like the school's on top of a mountain like that.
Oh, I see.
And it's a weird building and it kind of has that relationship to the rest of the city, which is otherwise like closed off, identical cookie cutter housing communities.
Got it.
And anytime you would like leave the campus, which was like a tiny bubble, and go down into Valencia proper, everyone would look at you like, ugh. Like the townspeople hated the art students. The townspeople.
They have pitchforks.
Right. So he made like that's apparently a thing that influenced this movie was how terrified he felt of how terrified everyone was of him.
And he wanted to shoot it in Burbank, but Burbank at this point had changed too much, become too urban, I think. And so they shot it in Lutz, Florida, home of past and future guest Sonia Saraya, a great Tampa suburb.
Okay.
Which I'm sure now in its own right is probably too, like, there's been too much, it's been built up too much or whatever. But at the time looks just like a picture perfect 60s American suburb.
Yeah, and they toe a really good line here of it being like heightened and stylized without being like wackadoo Dr. Seuss suburbs.
Sure, right.
I mean, it gets there with the haircuts.
Yeah, the haircuts makes it.
But he has to
Dr. Seuss.
convert
like
it.
full on who's
Right.
by the end of it.
I like that architecturally, I guess, all the houses look normal. He's just like a lot of control over the color scheme.
A lot of control over the. I mean, it looks eerie. It looks. I forgot about how eerie the quote unquote normal people in the movie are. But what else is important?
Yeah,
Burton gonna do?
He's terrified of them. You got to make the normal
Right.
people look even creepier than the creepy.
Also, I
people.
forgot that it was a period piece.
Yeah, right. It is set in the 60s, right?
Is it?
Yeah, the art direction very much suggests 60s.
If it, I just
Right?
always sort of took it as not being set in any particular
timeless.
time. Yeah, but yeah. I mean, it looks like that. The art
They're all
direction.
wearing the clothes and
Yeah,
the,
I'm trying to think. Do they make
the
any?
diner.
Well, I'm trying to think of Winona.
Right.
Like, does she have anything on her walls?
Because she's
or-
a hip youth.
She is a hip youth.
She's a hip
She has
youth.
a waterbed,
She has a waterbed.
which is sort of 70s of her.
I guess maybe 70s more, and that was his upbringing.
Yeah, maybe it was just an art
I don't
direction
know.
choice.
Yeah.
of
I don't
making-
know.
Well, let's talk about the wait, who did the art? It's
Bo Welch.
right?
Bo Welch.
And Colleen did the costumes.
Colleen. Well, so we should talk about
Of course.
Colleen for a little bit.
Colleen Atwood, to be clear.
You're a big fan of her work.
I am, yeah.
When we decided we were going to do this and we were come up with a list of people we wanted to ask be on the show, I said, 100% we should ask Julio because he'll be able to speak at length about Colleen Atwood.
I don't know that I'll be able to speak at
Well,
length.
then I
but
messaged
am
you about it, and I said, I'd love for you to come on as our resident Colleen Atwood expert, and you got very, scared.
Oh, yes, because I know her work and I like her work, but I don't. It's
But that's the full extent of what I'm
yeah.
looking for. It's not like I want you to unspool a ream.
Well, I guess we're more
of,
asking for
right.
your relationship to the Burton movies in general, right? And
Yeah.
she's just such a. This is her first collaboration with him, but she becomes just such a part of the.
what has she done
DNA.
before this?
You
with the
know,
laptop.
I have the laptop.
Yeah, look
yeah.
it up, dude.
Married to the Mob, which is a great fucking movie.
Yeah.
But no, not much. Like Manhunter, but nothing where you're like, oh, what an insanely designed movie.
She hadn't made a movie that was this stylized up
Yeah.
until this point. Sure.
I love the. I mean, there's so many fun choices. Like the when Edward is frantically and pruning the roses. Winona's wearing a rose sweater.
Yeah.
And some of those are like, oh, okay. I'm glad that such on the nose choices can be made.
Well, and also you look at the original drawing, and I feel like up until this point, Tim Burton had the way he would draw things, and then someone would come in and go like, okay, but we can't make something that looks like this, and would try to convert it a little more into the real world.
Mm-hmm.
And it feels like she was the first person who made someone who just looked 100% like a living Tim Burton drawing.
Right.
And he was like, oh, cool.
Right.
So now I'm done. It's like you and I forever. Let's ride off into the sunset.
Right.
I love how much, how many different textures there are on his suit. That it isn't just as
It's not
opposed
just
to
black. It's not
He's
a black
not just in
latex
black
suit.
vinyl.
and some of
right,
it's
yeah.
matte, and some of it's shiny, and some of it's coarse, and
likes
some of
his
it's
suit.
textured.
I like the neck straps.
Ben, you're very into fashion.
I'm
Yes.
getting into fashion, Julio.
You're chokers. You should wear chokers.
I mean, it's great. I took notes because I'm starting a fashion line this year.
Oh,
and
great.
I picked up a lot of things off of his costume.
A Scissorhands inspired.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like jumpsuits are pretty big these days,
They are
right?
pretty
And he's
big
sort of
these
wearing a
days.
jumpsuit.
Definitely looking
Well,
good.
he's wearing, and he can't take it off, right? He
Right.
can't take
He
that
can't.
layer off.
Impossible to remove it. Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because he wears his normal clothes over it.
That's the weird implication is that maybe the flesh was supposed to be placed over that
No,
if
I
he had
think
been
that-
finished.
No, my understanding was just more that's the kind of material that will
Protects
do
him,
best with
Sure.
his hands. Yes.
Oh, interesting.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That'll it will keep up with him if he's rubbing on it versus cloth, which he would just tear up.
I do love
a
the
fair point.
fundamental conceit we have to buy into in this movie where it's like a brilliant scientist who can make anything decides to make his own living creature, and just for a transitional stage, he's going to have scissors.
Right.
Well, that's watching it as a child.
Yeah.
I always thought that the Ed's dad, this inventor, was
Yeah.
a very mean, cruel man.
Interesting.
I
because
always
he
read
stuck
him as
with that.
a mean, cruel man who did this to him. That was my reading as a
Interesting.
child.
Do you still feel that way watching it now?
Yeah, why would you put scissors on the?
It's a weird call.
Why would you do that?
It's a
Yeah.
crazy placeholder.
It's a crazy placeholder.
It's a crazy
Yeah.
placeholder, especially because his idea wasn't "I will make a scissor man." It was, I will make a
And
normal
I always
hand
read
man.
it as okay, I had my fun with you with Scissorhands. Now
here we go.
Now
Here are the
fine,
rubber
fine, I'm giving you
hands.
rubber
Right,
hands.
Right, psych. Here you go.
Yeah, I always thought it was very cruel.
Right, he was trying to punk him in a way with the scissor hands.
Yeah.
yeah.
Also, was he supposed to be a weapon? Was he? What was the purpose of giving him Scissorhands?
Well, he wanted a human to make cookies.
He does make a heart
Instead
cookie.
of robot cookie makers. He should have given
right,
him
the cookies,
cookie cutter hands
Sure.
instead of scissor hands.
But Scissorhands are cooler.
Yeah, they look cool.
I am also rewatching it recently. I fully relate it with Edward until the moment where the bank told him he had no credit. And then I was like, oh, not enough people talk about having credit or not having credit
Yeah,
in,
it's true.
in film.
It
And
is
I
fun-
like that he has no credit.
I know.
As someone with no credit, still have no credit, and very proudly don't play that game.
Is that what you say at the bank where you're like, well, I just don't play the credit game?
Well, one of my happiest moments, one of my proudest moments was closing a bank account.
Uh-huh.
Very cool.
And they were like, well, but you're going to need credit. You're going to need, what if you want to buy a house?
Right.
What if you want to buy a car? And I'm like, I came to this country not long ago. I have nothing. I don't want children. I don't want to buy a house. I don't know how to drive. I don't need anything.
Well,
And
Right,
and I'm sick of playing this game.
You want to move into a long abandoned mansion at the top of a hill at the end of a
do.
cul-de-sac.
Yes, yeah.
And those places, you don't need like a down payment.
Exactly.
You don't need a mortgage.
Yeah.
right.
You kind of got squatters' rights.
But that's what I just love that they take Edward to the bank though, because like
Yeah.
it's just like Diane Weiss is like, I am gonna figure it out selling the Avon stuff, right?
Well,
Right.
And Alan Arkin's like, you gotta in this country, like you can really, you can pull yourself up by your bootstraps as long as you commit yourself and you're
Yeah.
responsible.
Right, as long as you play the game.
And they take him to the bank, and the bank's like, we don't know who you are because you have scissor hands and you're a robot or something, and obviously
Right, and
there's
they're
a
like,
lot of records here.
Get a job and get a car.
Right.
Yeah.
And I just love that Arkin and Weiss are like, well, that's outrageous because this is America. Like, you should have a bank account. That's one of the rules. You get a bank account.
I will say I have the exact same thing where bank accounts scare me. I have like a checking account and a
terrified.
debit card linked to my checking account, and that's my entire life.
Even now that I'm financially stable,
Same here. I
can't
don't
do
want to
it.
engage with money. It scares
I don't
me.
have a credit card.
Yeah.
I've never had a credit card.
Ben and I, bad credit boys.
Yeah, these are bad credit boys.
See, that's because
Yeah,
you're playing the
exactly.
game.
You're playing the
Just
game.
Don't play the
I
game.
played the game.
The game played me.
and then I lost the game.
Right.
Don't know.
Yeah, and now I'm on the bench. I don't know.
yeah,
My
you're not in the
parents-
game.
No.
Yeah.
My parents also no credit
Cool.
cards.
No, see, my dad plays the game and loses.
Ugh.
So I'm the child of that
No.
where I'm like,
Right,
cool,
right,
I
right,
have
right.
a checking account and I will check on the Chase app every 5 minutes to see exactly how much
Oh,
money
you're
I
one
have.
of those people.
Yeah.
My
Not because I'm afraid I'm losing it, but I want to know exactly how much I can spend.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm terrified of money.
when
I know. We're very
it's
different.
this
Yes,
this
you're a
is
money
always
monster, a money-loving money monster.
It's not, go on. So
my no
Not
credit
quite
is
that.
always questioned, and they're like, well, what if you want to buy an apartment one day? Don't you
Sure.
want to own your home one day? And my answer is, when that day comes, I will buy it in cash.
Yes.
You'll just have a briefcase.
I'll
of
just
money.
have it, or I won't buy it.
Right. It's one or the other.
Those are your two conditions.
yeah.
Right.
And I think that Edward thinks that way too.
That's Edward Scissorhands' life. I am realizing, I mean, maybe he's kind of got it figured out.
Eddie?
Yeah,
Ed?
old Eddie.
Old Ed, but I like, he's inherently altruistic, right?
And an uncommonly gentle man.
And he wants to cut.
Right, he was
people's
tested,
hair.
and he said, "If you find a briefcase full of money, what do you do?"
Right.
And his earnest answer was, "Give it to my
Give it
friends
to
and
my
family."
family.
Use
right.
it to buy presents for my friends and family, which I
Presents to my
love.
friends
Yeah.
and family.
And
yes.
Alan is like, well, no, like, you have to take it to the authorities, but Ed doesn't. I think the authorities are not really a concept.
And
to
I love
him.
that Diane
he
Weiss-
gets the people he loves.
Diane
right.
Weiss doesn't reprimand him. She goes, well, Edward, I can see why it would seem that was the right answer.
Right.
And it's almost in her delivery of that line. It's almost like she's saying, like, I once also thought that
Right.
is also my instinct
Right.
to buy presents for my friends and family. But actually, even though I don't fully get it,
Yeah.
you're supposed to give it to the authorities.
Yes.
Right.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. Right.
Right.
Yes. And he doesn't want money. I don't think.
No.
He knows what he's told. Like, well, if you're providing a service, you should be charging people and all that. But like, he just wants to cut people's hair and cut people's
Well, he's just
hedges
sort of
because they
a
like
pure
it.
artist. Right.
Well, and also they like it, and he
Right.
likes to make people happy.
Yeah.
Like, sort of seems to be his general
Well, it's
relationship.
like he doesn't know how to communicate with people. Maybe much like Tim Burton, an articulate man who can't string together a sentence. But then when he makes these things, people can respond to them, and it's like, cool. This is my dialogue.
Yeah.
Right.
If I can make this and this makes sense to me and my hands are built to craft this and then people are happy,
Then
that's
done.
Those are my relationships.
But I think it's important that the movie kind of reveals that he's not a simpleton and that like when he robs the panic
knows what he's
room
doing.
later,
Yeah.
right? Winona's like, I'm so sorry, and he's like, I knew what we were doing, but you asked me to.
Right.
And like that's she's realizing she's taking advantage of a nice person, not a stupid person.
Yes.
Right? Like that's sort of the key difference.
Because you do get that sense that the inventor did teach him a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, he's teaching him the manners when he's a deconstructed half boy on a table.
Right. He's a little Emily Post creature.
Yes.
I like holding my hands out.
Dude, like we've been talking about this, but Tim Burton's so good with fucking opening credit sequences.
Love it.
And the score for this movie is so good.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very iconic score.
Danny
I feel
Elfman said he built it so it worked as like an opera on its own, like that the story would work if you listen to just the album, which it kind of does in like a Peter and the Wolf way.
Right.
And the tracks are titled into like acts and such. But you have Old Winona, which I think they do a
With your impression was, I thought, flawless.
Thank
with
you.
Old Winona.
I think it's probably my favorite character in the history of film is Old Winona.
Old Winona.
And clearly J.J. Abrams agreed with me because that's the only reason you would cast her to play old Spock's mom.
I will say the second I saw her, I was like, remember when she was old Spock's mom?
Yeah, and you're like, isn't she 40?
when they cast her as Spock's mom.
Yeah.
But then you were like,
Oh,
I guess
Spock.
they age her up.
Yeah.
Right.
She
'Cause there's,
doesn't
like,
have a moment where she's not wearing old age makeup?
No, she does. She does because
Does she?
Spock's a kid. So
Oh,
there's
right.
one scene
There's
where
one
she's
scene.
regular Winona.
There's one scene.
where he's like, Mommy, why did you like make me?
Yes.
Spock is a bit of an Edward Scissorhands.
Spocky Scissorhands.
Yeah.
But yes, you have her telling the story. I love the image of the girl is like getting engulfed in the bed.
I know. I love that.
Like
I love
it's like
all
this
the forced
crazy
perspective stuff in
wide
this
angle
movie.
forced perspective thing where she just looks like the bed is swallowing
It's
her
gigantic.
Freddy Krueger style.
Yeah.
But I think he does a good job of not showing her face too much in this opening scene, so you don't immediately
I guess so.
put together it's old. I remember my mom telling me it was Winona, and it blew my mind.
Well, okay.
That's makeup?
It was very good makeup.
It's very
good
good
makeup.
makeup. But then you go through the window and you get the whole sort of traveling through the house and the score. His really good table setting thing he does.
Yeah.
And then you go straight to like Diane Weist's candy colored suburbs.
Mm-hmm.
And I do love this like how small and hermetic their world is.
Right.
That she's like going to the same doors of the same people. Like she's an
Selling-
Avon
yeah.
salesman.
And Conchata Farrell's just like, I don't buy anything.
Right.
And she's like, I know.
Yeah.
It's so
Right.
funny.
She has like all of her relationships figured out. She only knows 20 people.
Mm-hmm.
And none of them are going to buy products from her. And she just this one day is like, I guess there's one more house. But it's a good, like, nice economic setting up the basic dynamic of all the people in the town.
Totally. Kathy Baker. Very funny performance.
Olan Jones.
Olan Jones, who fucking rules.
Caroline Aaron, who's in like everything.
Yeah.
She's Marge.
Olan Jones gets credit in the end credits for composing the organ music in this movie,
Cool. Good job, Olan.
which rules.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, but Olan Jones is one of those great, like, early Tim Burton stock company
Oh,
people.
yeah, of
where you're
course.
just like,
Yes.
even just from the moment like her name comes up in the credits, you're like,
This
that's the
lady.
name of an actor in a Tim Burton movie.
Yes, absolutely.
Olan
Land Jones.
Yeah.
Well, she's in
Mars
she's
Attacks.
in Mars Attacks,
And
obviously.
she comes back in Mrs. Peregrine
Oh yeah.
As what?
as the peculiar boy's boss at the supermarket.
The Peculiar Boys Boss of the Super. Is that his most recent film? No,
It
Dumbo.
is.
Which
Dumbo
is
will be
Dumbo
coming
will
out
be
by
coming
the
out.
time we're finishing this. But
Uh-huh.
as of the time we're recording, yes, that's his most recent film.
Dumbo, yeah. Okay, another sensitive movie.
Another sensitive movie. I mean, Dumbo looks like they're setting it up to be a similar kind of here's an outsider who all these human beings are reflecting upon,
Right.
seeing themselves in and their relationship to him and how
Yeah.
much suffering he can endure.
Right.
Too bad I just can't deal with like circus aesthetic.
You don't like circus stuff.
No, I love Dumbo as a child.
Me too. My
And I
favorite
love-
Disney.
Two scenes in Dumbo: the mother rocking Dumbo,
Right. What's
the
the song
cage.
called?
Baby of Mine.
Baby of Mine. Yeah.
and then the train going through that hill at night
Yes.
during the rainstorm. But anything circus, just like the cotton candy whimsy.
So
welcome
you don't
to the
fuck
circus.
with Timothy the Mouse.
I don't do circus.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
I guess Dumbo doesn't get enough credit for being a good train movie.
Decent
It's a
train
great
movie.
train
Right? I mean, you were a big train kid.
Love it. Love the train. Dumbo, as a kid, Dumbo
Right.
was too elementally upsetting for me to watch that often. Like, because it's just so upsetting.
Dumbo and Pinocchio. I love
Right.
it.
Dumbo and Bambi were the ones that Pinocchio
Bambi I
too.
never
Pinocchio
really-
I would watch a lot though. Pinocchio's fun. It's got like
Pinocchio is
magic
fun.
and shit.
Pinocchio's also upsetting.
Very upsetting.
Yeah, all the
Very
Pleasure
upsetting.
Island stuff.
Another, well,
is
that's
like,
more circusy stuff when they're turning into the donkeys.
is that circus or carnival?
Well, look, okay. It's
Can I draw a
carnival.
line?
It's carnival.
Also,
Yeah.
Pinocchio, another Frankenstein.
Yep.
Yes.
Tail.
Another construct.
Yes.
Another construct.
Half finished
yes.
construct.
Which I forgot. He almost did a Pinocchio movie like 6 years ago.
That makes perfect
He thought
sense.
about it. Yeah, I mean,
With
that does
Robert
make
Downey
sense.
Jr. has been trying to make a Pinocchio movie at Warner
where
Brothers.
where he's Geppetto.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then when Tim Burton left, they hired Paul Thomas Anderson.
Right.
And then he got fired.
Yeah.
And now it still just hasn't been made.
It's a tricky needle to thread, the Pinocchio story,
It's a tough one.
because it is inherently a 19th century Italian novel about how children should listen to their parents.
Mhm.
Because I used to
Right.
read the book all the time, and the book
Yeah.
is basically like, and then Pinocchio didn't listen to Jiminy Cricket, and he was hung from a tree. Like, like that. That's
Right.
like every chapter ends with.
Which for Pinocchio, being hung from a tree is like essentially being choked out
Okay.
by his own kind.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
That's true.
Yes. Well,
It's like if another human choked you to death.
but yeah, no, Dumbo and Bambi, movies about like loss of parents and like the inherent cruelty of
Right.
mankind. Yeah,
But that's like
freaked me out when I was a
Yeah,
kid.
my brother Jamesy would like avoid any movie that was like aggressively sad, whereas like I flocked to it because I wanted to feel. But Dumbo, I feel like was one of the only ones that he would watch with me because of all the train shit. Because he was like a vehicle kid.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Like a lot of little boys. He
Vehicle
was like,
kid.
if they're wheels, if
Right.
they're engines.
See, I was
I'm in.
just a train kid. Like cars, I wasn't as into.
Interesting.
I like trains.
I like trains. They don't like cars.
I like
either.
like maps. I like systems. I like learning a train map, things like that. That was my deal.
James was very into vehicles and was especially into like policemen, firemen, like any sort of like
Jobs.
rights.
jobs.
Upholding
The
society.
boy likes jobs.
The boy likes jobs.
Because my brother was like that. Like he would announce, like, I will be a milkman.
Right.
Like, and like for 6 months, he was all in on that. And then he was
Yeah.
like, I'm done with that. I'm going to be a train conductor because I saw one.
Right.
And so now that's my new job. Yeah.
Well, my brother was really into this British TV show Postman Pat, which didn't.
Postman Pat was.
How would you?
No, we
How do you
can't.
know
No,
about
because
Postman
we're
Pat?
bringing it back later. It's so exciting when we bring it back.
What I don't know what you're
Yeah, what are you talking
about. I
David?
believe this is the episode where we need to talk about whatever you're talking about.
I grew up in Britain.
What?
Yeah,
How
and-
long have you been holding this back?
Oh my god! Wait, it was so much better when we bring it back in the other episode.
Well, I don't know. Look, the point is, Postman Pat fucks,
Yeah, Postman Pat and his little black and white cat.
right? Which is a show that's just
I'm not familiar with
It's
it
an
at all.
English puppet show,
Uh-huh.
stop motion. Little felt man who's a postman.
yeah. He looks like a hot dog.
He does. I'll show you Postman Pat. He
He
drives a little
he's
red
built like
car,
a Frankfurter.
and he lives in a little English town, and he delivers the mail.
There's
And
very little conflict.
He has a cat called Jess, who's black and white.
Right.
And usually the biggest issue is like the bridge is out or something.
The
There's
name
Postman Pat.
is smudged on the package, and he can't figure out where to
I
deliver it.
I have never seen that in my life before.
Britain, Postman Pat, Fireman Sam.
Yes, those were the two that
those are the
James
two,
liked.
Yeah.
And this was the early 90s, and we used to have to get like family members to ship us Postman Pat and Fireman Sam VHSs.
There we are.
And then my father would have to like get people who could convert them from PAL to
Julio
NT.
doesn't like it.
I don't like it.
NTSC to PAL, yeah, right, or PAL to NTSC.
Right.
Yeah.
We had to like get like contraband Postman Pat tapes and then
you
like,
had like a multi-region video
and
player.
dupe them, right, yeah, onto new cassettes.
Yeah. Postman Pat and his black and white cat.
Right, and I was
Early
like,
in the
yeah, I get
morning,
Edward
just when
Scissorhands.
day is
I don't want to
dawning.
ever have a job. I want to sit in a corner
Sure.
and then sometimes cut things.
Right.
Do you know what is the most impressive aspect of this film?
Mhm.
Sound mixing.
Okay. Like the
Because of all the
snipping sound
blades?
effects. Yeah.
I think that's what really sells the movie and the danger of how scary it is to have large, sharp blades on your hands.
Well, so much of the tension of the movie is will he, and eventually he does, will
Right.
he cut the ones he loves,
Right.
right? Like that's the
But yes,
what's so scary, like every time, because even when Winona
he's
hugs
so careful,
him,
right?
You're like, oh no, careful.
but there's so many things where he
That's
just
the
like
most Tumblr line when she says "hold me" and he's like, "I can't."
there's the moment where he's like pointing out things in the window when Diane Wiest is driving him through the neighborhood, and he like reacts strongly and points and almost slashes her across the throat.
Yes.
So they set that up very early on, and then the movie gets like a lot of fun, a lot of mileage out of like, oh, he's gonna burst the water bed, he's gonna break this thing.
Yeah.
But it is the like the Chekhov's gun in this movie is like when's he gonna cut a friend?
Yes.
But I just was watching this, and now, you know, having worked in this industry and peeked behind the curtain, I was watching it and just, you know, humble brag.
We're allowed to do that.
Sound mixing.
Well, no, just realizing
You're on top of your sound
set
mixer?
it would have sounded like dull plastic.
Right.
Like on set,
Oh,
his
sure.
performance would have been great.
Yeah.
But it also would have just sounded like,
Not dangerous, but like, yeah.
you know?
Sure.
Because there's zero chance, but there's like such clear like snips every time he articulates any finger, whether or not he's cutting something. You hear the clanking, you hear the sharpness, which like that's what keeps the tension in the air for the whole movie.
Are you saying that the scissors weren't really metal?
I believe they were plastic, and if they were metal, they were dull. I think this is one of those movies where they probably had like 7 different versions depending on what he had to do within a scene.
Right.
But there's
It
zero
has to be
chance they
metal
were making that
sometimes.
kind of sound.
Sure. Yeah. Well, of course.
I would bet they were plastic largely so that they weren't making sound.
Uh-huh.
Because on set, they always are just like, let's get as clean as possible. Like,
Right,
don't do
right.
anything.
Right.
In my like years of only getting hired to play like computer techs on cop shows,
You're like, don't type.
that was the bane of my existence.
Don't actually type.
Was like the only thing you've hired me to do is sit here and type intensely. And they're like, can your fingers be 1 inch above the keyboard?
Oh, wow.
And you feel so stupid when you're just like ghost typing
Yeah.
a keyboard that's right below you.
I one time, I can't even remember what the show was, but I auditioned for when I was, while I was auditioning, I was like, this is a Griffin Newman. This is a,
It was-
yeah.
yeah.
It was like very much of like a, you know, Jared and Hans, and then like, and then just like spilling so quickly some facts.
The name I use is a joke because this was one I auditioned for, and then the project got canceled because of a lawsuit. But I was at one point in the conversation to play a computer tech named Shalom Rodriguez.
Oh my God.
Let's try and cast as wide a net as possible here.
Well, the thing
It's
is,
one or
like,
the other.
It's in those little roles
Yes.
that they can shoehorn in diversity
Correct.
because they're
course,
not
right.
because they're on screen sometimes. So sure, it can be a Rodriguez
They're
or it
in
can
the
be
opening
anything.
credits.
Right, so they're
sequence,
like,
Yeah, exactly.
either get a Jew or get a Hispanic, and then we'll pretend like the joke is it's funny that he doesn't match the other half of the name.
Right.
Right, it's like you either get like Michael Pena and his name is Shalom, or you get me and my name's Rodriguez.
Sure.
And therein lies the comedy. It was win-win. And they got sued because it turned out the rest of the script was copying Girl with the Dragon Tattoo.
Perfect.
Like
The guy had
Larson-
one embellishment.
Yeah.
Shalom Rodriguez.
Right. They were like 4 weeks away from filming, and the Siegel Larson estate sued the network that was producing the pilot.
Wow.
Do you currently relate to Scissorhands as a character?
Yes. I think this is a big question because he was so much an avatar for me as a child. I was a very sensitive child who felt very easily damaged by everything.
Same.
And you know, the Wells for Boys kind of thing. And this character is so elemental.
Yes.
And like Winona was my biggest movie crush. That's the reason David and I are friends. Is
I
because we
love
both
Winona
like.
in general. In
Right.
this, she is a bit. I don't have a lot.
Oh
to
no!
say
I mean,
about
this
her in
character
this
doesn't
movie.
exist. But
Yeah.
I'm saying when I was a emotionally undeveloped 12-year-old, I was like, "This is the perfect woman." She wears a very clean dress and she's nice.
It's a very clean dress.
She's
and
clearly pretty and she's nice.
she
to
loves
Edward.
the snow.
Right. And she's nice to the sad boy. Like I was like, that's my dream girl, and didn't notice until watching it now for the first time in 10 or 15 years. Like, oh, there's no character there.
Not much. of a
Jason,
character
go
there.
back.
Right.
Go back.
But I was like, you know, I was watching it now through the prism of like, is this one of those movies that like made a bunch of people feel like they had the latitude to go like, you don't understand me?
Absolutely. And there's certainly a space for those movies. I mean, it's like a Donnie Darko
Right.
effect, right? Of like,
Donnie Darko is this movie,
Right.
like 10 years later, this kind of movie happening
right.
again.
it is that for a new generation.
Right.
100%.
And because this was
And Winnie the Pooh is the current one.
Christopher Robin is now.
Right.
I
The icon
refuse
of all
to call
sad
it
boys
Christopher
everywhere.
Robin.
Because Pooh's the star.
Yeah.
Well, so you asking if I relate to it now?
Yes.
My battles, I was watching it was like, I certainly have a muscle memory of relating to this.
Uh-huh.
There are elements I connect to, but I also feel like I've spent much of the last 5 to 10 years trying to kick any sense of being a victim or misunderstood out of my head.
Of course, and that's very healthy.
Right, which I think is
that's
healthy.
Very good. That's very healthy.
Right. And I think this is one of those movies that can like cause people to fall into a trap to be like, I never have to grow because I'm misunderstood and it's their fault.
Yeah. I mean, you can relate to it in a way that's not.
There are healthy ways to relate to this.
yeah.
Certainly.
I found I don't think I related to it as a child because I thought, well, I'm not spooky. I'm pretty.
You were Winona.
Yeah.
You were relating
I was
to
like,
Winona.
oh, I'm Winona. But
I'll be kind enough to be nice to the spooky children.
But
Sure.
I was like, oh yeah, he has no credit. He's like weirdly an immigrant. He's like weirdly an immigrant in
He's
this
an immigrant,
suburb.
basically.
Yeah.
He's like learning how this world works.
Yeah.
He's not American.
He's seeking asylum.
Yeah.
He is. Edward is seeking asylum, old Eddie.
Except
Old
of
Eddie.
course he's not active in that way because he was brought to
No,
this.
right.
Yeah.
Right. I do love that. I mean, I love the. What were you gonna say? Sorry.
No, I'm just like I love stories like that of the like Little Mermaid is the same, right?
Sure.
She's like in a world that she doesn't know how to use the fork, so she like combs her hair with it. It's just like those are, I think, have been the immigrant stories for so long.
Yes.
The like magical
The magical creature, fish out of water. Right. And then this heightens that because it's like the fish out of water then goes into a normal zone that is a heightened Tim Burton crazy normal
Of
zone.
course. Yeah.
Right.
I grew up in New Jersey in an unusual sort of town, low class kind of town, let's say. I usually say I grew
Low
up in a
class.
ditch is more or less how I put it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so seeing this now as an adult, I realized the parents and the adults that treated me in a way that made me feel weird. I like really related to that shot of Edward in bed, in the waterbed, just kind of being like, I can't move. What is this? Like I was like, I remember being in like nice houses and just that being like, oh my God, everyone ate at a table together.
That's
Weird.
sort of forced suburban normalcy.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I felt that like pangs of being a young man and just being like confused by
So
the nice families.
So you related to him.
Oh, for sure.
Cool.
I also grew up on a hill in an old house, and my dad
Your dad has been
built
surprised.
me. Yeah,
Yeah. And your dad did never finish, right?
No,
You're still lacking a spleen?
Your dad is a tinkerer. You have a scissor spleen.
not a scissor spleen. It's a mud spleen.
It's a mud. You got a bag of mud where your spleen should be.
That's right.
I love because I had misremembered this. How little resistance Edward is met with at the beginning. Like the
yeah,
first
they're like,
thing.
At first, he's new and he's exciting
Well,
and
it's
he's
just
like
the
a
Whisper
sexual
Network.
revolution
Right, that's the
practically.
thing.
Yeah,
Yes,
right.
all
Yes.
the women are. It's a
They're
sexual
liberated,
experience
yes.
to have their
Right.
haircut.
Have
by
their
him.
haircut.
Right, like it goes from like everyone like starting the Whisper Network of just like there's a man in town, there's
Yeah,
a new
right,
man.
right,
yes.
Like this is just mixing it up. Then they all are just like, this is incredible. God, your journey is so amazing.
Sure.
Like they're like they work so hard to understand him and try to accept him. There's that great bit with the veteran who like goes up to him and hits his like hollow leg.
Love that.
And it's like, don't let anyone ever tell you.
You're disabled.
Right. And then at the end of the movie, he's the one who's like, kill the cripple. I think he literally says, kill the cripple.
When it turns ugly. Yeah.
Yes.
The cop in the movie, so sweet.
One
so
of my
kind.
favorite characters.
When he says, it just keep me up at night knowing that.
yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Like almost
So
everyone,
sweet.
you expect people meeting him with revulsion and then warming up to him. But instead, everyone is like, well, we don't want to be closed-minded.
Right.
Everyone, yeah, they're all initially kind and remain kind,
Mhm.
or they let the mob mentality get to them.
but they're distracted by their own stuff. Too.
Very much so.
Yeah.
So it's like they accept him, but then they just kind of move on.
They sort of don't have time to obsess.
Right.
right.
Right. Other than Diane Weiss, who's like putting in the work, everyone else is like patting themselves on the back for being nice to him and then walking away.
Yes, and he's a bit of a curio, but I also think it's that thing of like where they're like, well, he can't be scary because then if he's scary, he's scary.
Right.
So he must be fine. And there's that thing, once Winona finds him in the bed and he punctures her,
Oh, it's such a good
and
one.
Arkin just takes him downstairs and he's like, women, what are you going to do? And I'm like,
Right.
she's justifiably upset.
Yeah.
She found a scissor monster in her bed.
Right. And then he's drinking whiskey through a straw and gasping for it.
Right. And Arkin's just sitting there like, he's
That's
so
what's
funny.
great is that like Arkin never plays. When I was a child and I watched this, I did not understand that character was supposed to be funny
Right.
because Arkin is so bone dry that I was like, well, this is like the boring character, just
He's
like the
so
normal
funny.
dad. And I didn't get that what was funny was the fact that he's talking to Edward Scissorhands like he's not Edward Scissorhands.
Yeah.
What did we think about the hairpiece when we were kids?
I think it's great.
I think it's
such
great,
It's such
too.
an 80s dad hairpiece.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's also great
a
because
look.
it's a thinning hairpiece.
Yeah.
Right.
Like it's
right.
not a heavy
The
tube.
rare thinning hairpiece.
Right.
Yeah. Love that.
Big fan of that. But yeah, everyone kind of like puts in their work, like does their performative, like we are so inclusive, and then backs the fuck off until Edward realizes that he's an artist, and then he becomes the cause celeb. First, that first topiary scene is so good when it's soundtracked by the baseball game on the radio.
Yeah.
All that stuff is just like
Depp just plays it very. I like the intricacy of it. Like it just makes it seem not silly that he's just sort of flapping his fingers around and like leaves are flying everywhere.
Yeah.
he looks committed to what he's doing. Like
Yeah.
he makes Edward look
Focused.
Yes,
he's
focused.
so emotionally dialed into
right,
it.
Right,
And it makes you so happy to see when he's like proud of something.
right.
Because there are those early scenes where she's trying to teach him how to smile and it looks so fake. The
Right.
one where she's trying to fix his face with makeup and applying the putty.
Yeah,
I love that she keeps on going back to that, like her calling the Avon lady herself to try to figure out if there's another technique she could use.
Yeah.
Because she can't figure out what to do with his scars. But yes, no, he finds like a genuine pleasure in being able to express himself through this. This is something unique. For once, his scissors are not a hindrance. They're a feature, not a bug.
yeah.
And then how does he get from there to the hair? It's just the dog, right?
Yeah. Yeah, he just snips things.
Yeah.
He's a snipper.
But this is a movie where you start to understand maybe why women are underwritten in Tim Burton movies because Tim Burton is clearly terrified of sex. Like the fact that cutting hair opens the door to women being turned on by him is treated as the scariest thing in the movie.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like this film is so uncomfortable about any sort of sexuality.
Well, and there's also that tension of like he's cutting their hair and he's doing it so quickly and they're mildly turned on by it, but I kept thinking like, oh, he's gonna hurt them.
Right.
He's gonna snap an ear.
But I feel like Conchata Ferrell, if someone has a line about like that's the greatest thrill of my entire
It's
life.
not, it's
Yeah.
not Conchata. I think
Yeah.
I can't remember who it is.
Yeah.
Caroline Aaron maybe. Yeah.
But that becomes half of the thing is like, okay, A, he's like a hair genius. He's the Picasso of hair. But B, it's also the experiential thing of like, it's like a Russian roulette, I guess, or something.
Oh, sure. Like that it's like getting a close razor shave or whatever, right?
Or I
Where
guess
you're on the
it's-
edge of danger.
Or it's something like it's like a very high stakes version of like a trust fall.
Sure.
Like the rush comes from the fact that you have to trust that he knows what he's doing. Because like one false centimeter.
Which is inherently the tension with any hairstylist, right?
Right, correct.
The will this be okay? Am I safe with you?
Right, but I also feel like
Because if it's not okay, it won't be okay for a while.
right, but is also often the tension of sex, where you're
Yes,
just
yeah,
like,
yeah.
is this going to be comfortable? Like,
Yeah.
emotionally, physically, like any of it?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Was that movie Shampoo?
Yes. Oh, Shampoo is so good.
I love shampoo.
Shampoo?
Yeah. What, about Warren Beatty?
Yeah.
Yeah. He's a hottie.
Would you rather get your hair cut by Warren Beatty in Shampoo or Edward Scissorhands?
Warren Beatty.
Oh,
Really?
Scissorhands.
Yeah,
Scissorhands.
Scissorhands.
Warren
All
Beatty's,
those
like, so hot.
hairstyles are awesome.
The
I
flamingo.
like the design
Yeah,
of
flamingos are
everything.
great.
The cube.
Yeah.
But in the other scenario,
like,
Warren
PC
Beatty
kinda-
touches
Yeah.
your
Like
head
grassy
with his
one.
hands.
Yeah, I'd rather just go up to Warren Beatty at a bar and ask him to touch my head. I don't want him cutting my hair.
Well, you didn't present that as an option.
Okay.
Yeah, Warren Beatty's obsessed with volume and
Yes.
shampoo.
He likes
it's
volume.
all volume,
I don't need
volume,
more
boost, volume.
I'm already a puff boy.
I like volume.
I do like that it is this high speed sort of frantic thing until the Diane Wiest one, which is treated as this like very like this is now he finally has a way to show his appreciation for what she's done for him and pay her back with this like very tender, precise haircut.
Right.
Also, a thing we haven't talked about is I love the clothes that he's given. The suspenders, the big slacks, the tucked in white shirt. It looks so good.
It is a great
him.
look.
Yeah.
It's such a cool design.
Yeah.
Man.
Then everything goes wrong at the end.
Right, because Winona doesn't come in till minute 40, and even then she's still kind of
For a
backgrounded.
while, she's ignoring him. She's got her boyfriend.
Right,
got
she's
her
just
life,
kind of making ooh faces at the dinner
and
table.
she realizes that he's nice and that her boyfriend's a jerk.
Right,
sort of,
right.
you know.
Anthony Michael Hall, wants to steal his dad's TV.
Sure. Yes.
His dad doesn't
Which is
trust
like
him.
such a slimy, disgusting, like American jock thing to like fear your father.
Right.
I'm scared of my old man.
There's only one thing I'm scared of. It's the old man. But they realize
It's a smart scam, though.
What?
Yeah.
Steal your dad's TV, I think that's a good plan.
Yeah, and then step 2, where do you put it?
You sell it. You go to a pawn shop, and then you get some money.
I always
Wait,
thought
so
that
he's breaking into
his own house.
his own. Why? Can you remind me why he doesn't have the keys to his own
His
house?
dad has this like special room that only he has the keys to, where all his fancy shit goes.
Yeah.
Probably because he knows his son is.
That's what he said. My dad doesn't
that's
trust
it.
me.
criminal.
Like if this character were a little more self-aware, he'd relate to Edward in that his
Right, my
father
dad doesn't even
perceives
trust
him as
me in my
dangerous.
own house. Right.
He's perceived as dangerous. He can't go around nice things. He's
Right.
Yeah, but this guy,
Instead, he just thinks of Edward as a
Meanwhile,
tool. Edward is like a
Edward is
skeleton
given
key.
free range to go anywhere he wants in that house, having Scissorhands.
Yeah.
When he
It's
runs
just like-
away, Arkin's just like, "Hey, he went over there. I don't know. He's on a walk."
Yeah.
but Edward knows it's a privilege, not a right. This isn't no. Alan Arkin's singing on the rooftop is later, right?
When
That's
he's
when the
stapling
mom-
That's
the
near
snow.
the end when he's
Yes.
stapling the snow because it is California.
Right. But he's like really having a go at that song.
Yeah, he's great. He won an Oscar
yeah.
for Little Miss Sunshine, but I mean, he deserved it for this.
Right. But they said accidentally, like, this is Alan Arkin's first Academy Award for singing on the roof. And Edward's, I'm sorry, Little Miss Sunshine.
Yeah, and it all goes wrong. Come on, we know it goes wrong. He's a scissor man. It's gonna go wrong.
Yeah, I think that inevitability scared me as a child. I just didn't know how wrong it was going to go, and I didn't want the fun times to last. Like, once I had been lulled into the security of, like, they accept him, it's fun, he's an artist, I so dreaded the turn.
Right, but obviously he makes the ice sculpture, and
Right,
Winona
makes
dances in
snow.
the snow. But right after that,
What
it all starts.
12-year-old
to-
Griffin thought was the peak of romance.
Yes.
Oh boy. Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, it was.
Have your relationships with women been through your life?
They tend to dislike the fact that I wear scissor hands at all times. I would say.
But they love the snow.
And
I was like,
insist on
Look,
dancing. In
these
snow?
are my
Right.
relationship goals. This is who I learned from.
What else? Is there anything? Come on.
I'm trying to think of other details. I mean,
The thing that always shocked me as a child, and honestly shocks me now, is that he kills someone at the end.
that's what. Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Like you don't think he's going to do that.
What's also shocking is the bully should know that he
Yeah, don't fight a scissor
You
man.
don't punch a scissor hand
Right.
man.
Right.
What's crazy?
Well, he's so cocky, right? He
Right.
thinks he
And
can do
Edward's
anything.
such a
Right.
downtrodden doormat of a person. He
Right.
thinks. Yeah.
But he ignores the old adage: never bring a fist to a scissor fight.
Right.
He's fighting with fists in a
scissor
fight, David.
Well, he brings a
Stop
gun.
the podcast. That he does have a gun.
Oh, that's my favorite.
He does have a gun.
My
He does
favorite
have a gun.
subplot in the movie is the son from Honey, I Shrunk the Kids trying to get Edward to play rock, paper, scissors.
Right.
Yes.
And then getting tired of playing rock, paper, scissors with it.
pretty
That's
easy to beat.
such a fun baby little joke.
It's such good kid logic of like, this guy would be the best to play with because his hands are one of the things, and then realizing, no, he's the worst to play with. His hand is
He's no fun.
only one of the things.
How do you guys feel about vans with flames on them?
I mean,
I like
Oh,
it.
yeah.
I'm into
They're
that.
good. I think you're more into
I
them.
saw that as a kid, and I was like, "Fuck, I want that van."
so why
I
don't
thought-
you have it?
Yeah.
I
Too responsible.
My license is suspended.
Is it really?
Yeah.
I thought when you asked that question, you meant like slip-on shoes
Me too.
with flames tampoed on them.
Oh, like Vans.
That's what I think when I hear
Well,
Vans.
I've had
that-
those.
Right, like limited edition Guy Fieri Vans, which
Sure.
I'm very into those.
Those are cool.
Fire shoes are cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Are there other things to talk about here?
No, I mean it all goes Pete Tong, as the English would say, and he's chased to the mansion.
Yeah.
And by people with pitchforks. They don't have pitchforks, but they might as well.
Right, and he,
The cop helps him cover up the murder.
yeah,
no one really picks up the body. There's
No.
there's
I think
no,
everyone's too scared. They want to forget about that.
There's
place.
no informing of, well, what about this kid's parents?
no, and it kind of is clear
It's
everyone
just sort
hates
of
this
like-
fucking kid.
Yeah, they just dissipate.
They're just like, look, I mean, death is a death. It's a
It's
sad
like,
thing.
oh,
whatever.
well, this like cancels it out because
Right, they
we
were
like grew to hate the other one too,
Right.
but now they're both.
They're like,
dead,
I mean,
so
if we were
it's
going to lose one guy from the community,
right,
this was probably our first round pick.
Right. I also feel like the idea is that maybe like a generation or two later, people will forget about it. The house will just stay there. He'll just stay there.
Right.
And then maybe once again, someone's interest will be piqued enough to sort of like go check it out again. And maybe he'll come back.
That's the thing. He's so close still to all these
Right,
people,
right.
and they just like choose to turn him into a legend.
Right.
But I mean, it is kind of nice that like Anthony Michael Hall charges for him,
Right.
and then he sticks the hands out,
Yeah.
sort of self-defensively. So it's not like he didn't
No,
know
he's
he was
not,
going
like-
to kill him.
Yeah,
It's
but
also
still.
not like he's initiating.
It's just shocking. This is like a PG movie, you
but
just don't see it
weird
going this way.
to
It's a
see him
PG-13 actually.
with that much blood on his blades and all of that sort of stuff.
But it is also the thing you expect. He's a Scissorhands man.
right.
We are finally, the worst nightmares.
And then
being
the
realized.
surrender is like, this is where I belong. I should sit by myself in this corner for the rest of time.
Right.
Which I just found unbearably sad. Like this movie would
Yeah.
make me cry a lot as a child. But I do think, obviously, at the point that Tim Burton's making this movie, he like his art has connected with the masses. He's found his place. He's very successful. People are letting him follow his whims to the end of the earth. So I don't think it's about him actually feeling disconnected from society as like a citizen at this point. I think the movie is just about him being like, I don't think I will ever understand other people.
Yeah.
You know,
Right,
like
right.
there's this concession. The fact that Edward chooses to stay, that the movie doesn't end with the people killing him, but it ends with him being like, I'm just going to sit here and pretend that I'm dead and just wait out my eternity.
Yeah, I guess so.
Is him just sort of like,
But maybe, that's what I'm saying. Maybe things will change.
yeah,
He'll
maybe.
come back.
Right, the daughter
Yeah.
comes back or whatever, the granddaughter.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know.
But yeah, it does just feel like him being
Oh.
like, it doesn't matter
I
how
just
much
got an
people like
email.
my art. What?
My pitch got bought. Edward Scissorhands too. I just sold that for $5 million.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
What
thank you.
happens this time around?
She goes back up and he's there still, and they bring
Who,
him
the
down.
granddaughter?
Yeah. Although actually, we should talk about Johnny Depp because that's the real reason you can
Yeah.
never make an Edward Scissorhands too.
Oh, right.
This is, I will say, we've been watching obviously a lot of Depp recently.
Uh-huh.
Sure.
This is not a great time to rewatch Depp. This is the one that makes me the saddest.
You mean just because of like what was sort of once so great about him as a performer?
Yes, and also I think he was able to run off the juice of this movie for so long in terms of like he also is misunderstood. Like he's not one of these Hollywood movie stars.
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
not some asshole. He's actually this weird wounded lost soul.
Right, so Cole Sprouse.
Right, he
Yeah,
was the
yeah.
Cole Sprouse of his time. Because I think that was the thing of like everyone thought Johnny Depp was just another pretty boy, but actually he feels as weird as we do. And then sort of coming to realize like, oh no, maybe he was just like the same sort of like.
But he's talented, so there's that.
Yes, he
Yeah.
is or was talented.
Well, I mean, even Amber Heard in her allegations and all that, when they were having the divorce, was pretty clear about like he became an alcoholic and a drug addict.
Yes.
Where she was saying like he was not always an alcoholic and
Right.
a drug addict. Like, he has entered a spiral of super addiction that is, ruining his mind.
Yeah.
She included all of that in like the divorce papers and all that sort of stuff when they were like figuring out their divorce.
Yeah. Yeah. And it also is, I mean, you read all those pieces about it and you just like calculate like how much fucking money he was making off the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. And it's like,
Ooh.
that's just not good.
Well,
No.
You know, like that kind of like when people stop saying no to anything and you start having insane amounts of money, especially when you're a weirdo.
right.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's the same thing with, like, wait a second, like, Nicolas Cage bankrupted himself buying dinosaur skulls?
Right. He built a
Yeah.
pyramid, like, in the desert that he lives in
You know,
or whatever.
there's a reason why, like, the people who have billions of dollars are, like, boring businessmen.
Yeah, I mean, it's really a slippery slope.
Right. Like, people
right?
who, like, don't have interests or personalities and just,
then
like,
really creeps up
having
on you.
money. Right.
Yeah.
Whereas I think if you like things and you have access to all that money, you start going insane.
I like wine, and I'm so interested to just see like a rundown of what he was consuming in like a week of how expensive these bottles
Well,
are.
wasn't that the thing though when they were like, it's been said you're spending $30,000 a month on wine? And he's like, that's outrageous. I spend way more than that.
Yes,
on wine. like in that recent Rolling
like,
Stone
"That's
article.
slander,
or whatever.
I'll sue you. It's
I
$50K.
just love the idea of him drinking like a Burgundy from like 80 something and just slamming it down.
Yeah.
Like that's so crazy.
Yeah. Right. He's just like drinking wine like it's cans of beer.
And I believe he's just still in that state. That Rolling Stone article suggested that he's basically just like a hash smoking monster.
Right, and that he's
He was sued on City of Lies for punching someone, and the lawsuit was like he just reeks of alcohol and does drugs all day.
and the movie has still not been released,
Right.
and he lives in his own weird like mansion. He's had to sell most of his properties, including the small French village that he owned.
Right.
Not only did he own a Caribbean island, but he owned a small French village in which he owned every house in the village,
Oh, no.
and he paid to keep a staff on retainer for the different houses. So he was like, "This house is our kitchen. This house is our dining house." Like here's a small, quaint Beauty and the Beast style.
Oh wow. Yeah.
But that's the thing. Like, if you're Johnny Depp and you're like, I love the way it feels to be in a small, rustic French village, and they're like, hey, here's $80 million, then you do that. Then you build
just
your
do
own
that,
weird
yeah.
French wino Disneyland.
Sure.
Anyway, he now lives in like a mansion. He never goes outside. He's a vampire and he drinks all the time. And apparently, the only people he's surrounded by are like the people who work for him, like his lawyer.
salaried employees, right?
He also has a band,
And you know what they're called?
Hollywood Vampires.
Yes, sir.
Should we play the box office game?
We should.
Okay. Cool.
This
So
movie
let's do it.
did weirdly well.
Yeah, this movie made, I'm going to get you the total, $56 million.
See, I'm so bad with money. I don't know if that's a lot or a little for a movie.
Well, adjusted for inflation, it's about 120. Yeah,
and
so
that's a lot or a little for a movie.
yeah, it's a lot of money for any movie, but except for a really big movie. But it's a lot of money for a movie like this.
Yeah.
Like I don't
Okay.
think this movie was that expensive. What do you think?
I think it probably cost about 20, 30.
Yeah, and
it took place on that one street.
Yeah.
exactly,
Right.
$20 million budget, right?
Right.
And beyond that, like
That's
the
not a
movie
big
is sort
star.
of like
Yeah.
right, doesn't have a big star. Well, Winona's maybe approaching big stardom at that point, but like
But
doesn't have a
overall
huge
smart
star.
enough. She probably
It's
got paid
weird
like $1
pitch.
million. Yeah.
You know, like
Right.
it's certainly not a movie that's guaranteed to be a huge success. It opened small,
Right,
two theaters.
this on its face maybe looked like the small passion project he made in between Batman movies. And the fact that it worked at the time rather than being a cult hit years later is kind of surprising.
Yeah. So it opens limited release 2 theaters December 7th,
Okay.
1990. Number 1 that week. In its 4th week, my guess is it's the biggest movie of the year.
Of 1990?
Yes, it is the biggest movie of the year. It's a kids movie. Very Christmassy.
Oh, Home Alone?
Home Alone.
Yeah.
What do you think of Home Alone?
I don't get the American obsession with Home Alone.
Go on.
No, go on.
I
Go off,
remember scenes of it that
Sure.
I like all the when the little traps he sets.
Yeah.
But there's this incredible nostalgia for Home Alone that I can't seem to access. Even though when I was that age or whatever, I really enjoyed it and I loved it.
It feels like
but I
there's
have left it.
been a thing in the
I haven't
last
seen it in many
3
years.
years where our generation has started demanding that it be ushered into the canon as like one of the undeniable classics. And not even like that's a movie we all have nostalgia for, but like, can we all agree that it's like It's a Wonderful Life, Home Alone? You know, which I don't get. Now, that's a movie that like I would watch in bits and pieces on TV. I maybe didn't have the
I
formative
think some people
experience.
would watch it a lot. Right. Yeah.
I didn't see it in theaters.
I would
like-
watch 2 a lot more because it was set in New York.
It's set in New York.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd watch that one too, and Donald Trump's one of my favorite actors. But it is weird to me how like it's gone, not just even like a Goonies thing where it's like, well, it's like kind of cheesy, but come on, we all love the Goonies. To being like, we all agree that Home Alone is a flawless masterwork, right?
Right.
Very odd to me. I don't know. I'm not shitting on the movie.
No, I will say though, in its 4th weekend, it made this pretty much the same it made in its 1st weekend. It was one of those crazy box
Wait, Home
office
Alone
successes.
as Scissorhands?
No, like Home Alone.
Home Alone made more money than Scissorhands.
No, I'm saying like in
Infinite
Home
more,
Alone's
yeah.
4th weekend, it's making Home Alone's 1st weekend.
Right. It keeps on not dropping
It
off.
was one of those weird
it.
phenomena.
It played
People
for-
just kept going back.
Yeah. It was one of the 10 highest grossing films of all time.
Sure.
Like it was crazy
285,
successful. Yeah.
Adjusted $600 million.
Yeah, that's insane. Like it did like the fucking same amount that Black Panther did this year.
When he puts the aftershave on, it burns his face.
Sure.
I don't know if I
He's
remember
afraid of
that
the
scene.
furnace.
So
I
when he
remember
puts
that
like
'cause
I remember
hands,
shaving was a
I don't
part of
remember
it.
that.
Yeah, no, and then he
Because he wants to be a grown up, you know.
He puts his hands on either side of his face. I don't
Yeah,
remember that.
I don't.
Oh, you
not
should
familiar.
rewatch
I'm
it.
not familiar with
Honestly,
that.
yeah.
He also brutalizes these 2 burglars with various weapons.
Well, they're more than just burglars. They are wet bandits,
They are wet
which is a
bandits.
good
They're the wet
name
bandits.
for your bandit crew.
Ben likes wet things. And I say that in the least
Number
sexual
2
way
is a
possible.
Number 2 is a very snowy movie as well. A horror movie.
A snowy horror film.
Like it's
Christmas
sort of
again with the Christmas.
It is.
Yeah.
It's very Christmassy.
Interesting.
At the moment. An Oscar winner.
This is a snowy horror film that's an Oscar winner?
In December. Isn't that crazy?
What the
What a
fuck?
movie this is. I love this movie.
Does it win a performance
Yes,
award?
Best Actress.
It wins Best Actress. Oh, it's the film Misery.
Misery. Kathy Bates. James Caan.
Yeah.
That's it.
So Julio, as we were saying, money scares me, but this is the one money thing that makes sense to me. Where I have this weird
Box office?
catalog for box office. in
Oh,
my
sure,
head.
sure. Yeah. Misery. Huge hit.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, not a huge hit, actually. Just a solid hit,
Big
but
hit.
a surprise,
Yeah.
Good movie.
A
good
surprise
movie
Oscar
and a
win.
win
Yeah.
for Kathy Bates.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Number 3 is,
I feel like that's a ahead of her time style icon. Like I feel like you go to Bushwick now, a lot of girls are dressed up like Annie Wilkes
sure. Yeah.
with the sort of little dress and the bow and the hair.
My ceramic penguin always points north.
Yeah.
That's what she says in that movie.
Yeah. And certainly you go to Bushwick, it's lousy with ceramic penguins.
Yep. He didn't get out of the cock-a-doodle car. Number 3 is an old star and a new star together, and the old star is directing. This is a hard movie to explain.
Old star, new star, old star directing.
To give you clues.
Is it a
for.
Clint Eastwood film?
Mm-hmm.
Is it the one with Kevin Costner?
No,
It's Clint Eastwood
even younger
and a new person.
and less good.
Charlie Sheen?
Yeah. What's
Fuck.
it called?
What's
One of
that
Eastwood's
movie
worst
called?
movies. In that it's just very forgettable.
It's not called The Scout.
No.
It's called The Something, right?
Yep.
It's not called The Recruit.
No, but it is an R.
It's not called The Rookie.
It's The Rookie.
Really?
That's
Weird.
what it's called.
Weird.
One of the Eastwoods I haven't seen. Number 4 is the Best Picture winner of the year.
Of 1990.
It's your boy.
This is your boy. You just said his name.
I just said his name? Eastwood? What? What did I say his name?
You
That's your
literally-
boy?
You just said his name.
Eastwood is your boy?
No, Eastwood's not his boy.
When did I say his name?
Just 5 seconds ago, you were trying to guess Eastwood's co-star.
Oh, Costner. It's Dances with Wolves.
Dances with
I'm
Wolves.
sorry.
Oh.
It's my
was
best
in a
friend,
movie with
Kevin
Kevin
Costner. I
Costner.
high-fived Kevin Costner and they cut it out. But the GIF lives forever.
Good.
I do it for the gifts. That's the one thing I write into my contract. I do it for the
you gotta
gifts.
be a GIF. You gotta
Yeah.
become a GIF.
You gotta get a GIF.
Mm-hmm.
Gotta get a GIF. bro.
Number 5 is a sequel to one of the highest grossing films of a few years ago.
Jurassic.
Comedy. No. Very, very high concept comedy.
Definitely high concept.
3 Men and a Little Lady?
3 men and a little lady.
And a little lady.
Yes.
Was that one directed by Nimoy as well?
No. Nimoy's out. He's not interested.
It is
anymore.
weird that Spock directed the highest grossing film of a year.
He made 3 hits, and then he made 3 weird movies, and then that was that.
Yeah, that Gene Wilder movie that he made is
Very weird.
disaster.
Yep.
Like the last movie Gene Wilder ever did.
Leonard Nimoy. So that's it.
Yeah.
We're done.
Wow. Well, I mean, what's to say? Edward Scissorhands, we stand a legend.
Yeah.
Johnny Depp, send us some wine, right?
Sure.
If he's looking to like kick some of the collection,
Johnny Depp, seek help and be publicly accountable for your sins.
please.
Yes.
Do you think Tim Burton and Wes Anderson like each other?
You know, I had that
Because I've
thought
always had
watching
like
this.
they've always been like the sun and the moon to me.
Yes.
One, the pink to the black, the very like decided aesthetic.
Sure. It's an interesting question.
They're two sides of the same coin.
And they're both fundamentally comedy directors, which I think people sometimes lose track of. That like comedy is the main thing they're interested in.
But they can also make dioramas together.
Right. The big difference is that like Wes Anderson has just become like more and more analog, like moving backwards, retro technique.
And Mr. Tim Burton is a green screen on top of a green screen.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. He green screens into green screens.
Yeah.
And then also now, like, he doesn't seem to generate his own stuff anymore. Like, he sits around and waits for someone to be like Dumbo, and he's like, fine, yeah, okay. You know, whereas Wes Anderson's like, he's cracking open that notebook every time.
Right.
Coming up with something new.
There's a monogram notebook.
His very carefully monogrammed notebook.
Yeah.
Where just, I guess, to sort of speed round, I mean, I don't want to put you on the spot with this, but the reason I knew about the Colleen Atwood thing that you were such a big fan is because your favorite movie the last couple years was Huntsman, Winter's War.
Yes. My favorite costumes, too.
Right.
Is that an Atwood?
That was
I
an
saw that
Atwood.
movie. I
Was
reviewed
it?
that movie.
Yes.
Yes.
That was a movie that was costumes first.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That was, you kept on going bananas about the poster campaign for that movie.
Yes.
Because they had a lot of individual
Queen of Ice
character
versus
posters.
Queen of Snow.
Right.
Queen of Ice versus Queen of Gold. Yeah.
Right.
Queen of
The
Ice
Gold
versus
Queen
Queen
and
of
the
Gold.
Snow.
And
Right.
I love that it wasn't a battle of the elements necessarily because one was ice and the other one was gold.
Right.
It wasn't
It is
fire and
Colleen.
ice. It
Right,
wasn't
right.
silver and gold.
No, it
Right.
was ideologies. One of them
It was
represented the
ideologies.
idea of snow.
And have you seen this film?
I have not.
I have seen this film.
Oh my god, it is.
It's crazy.
The logic, it's both a prequel and a sequel to the Snow White
Right. It
movie.
opens like in media res,
so
but then you go
weird.
back to
But then
like
you go
when
back.
she was still around.
And the
Because isn't Charlize only in like 10 minutes of it?
She's only like right at the
She-
beginning and the end.
she's at the
basically.
beginning and the
That's
end, which are the
crazy.
best because that's when the queens are there.
Right. A
And
lot of it is
the
just
fighting queens.
Yes. The Fighting
Jeez.
Queens is good.
The fighting queens is great.
Chastain and
I completely forgot that
Hemsworth.
Chastain and Hemsworth are in that.
right. They have a lot of it where they're both like soldiers on either side of the war.
Doesn't Chastain kind of play Merida from Brave?
Sure,
She's
like
a warrior.
She's like
Right.
a Celtic
Yeah.
warrior
Right.
type. Yeah, she's got like these two curved
But
swords.
they're-
Because that was my takeaway from the movie was
It's
like,
all-
the first one's obviously riffing on Snow White, and this one feels like they're now riffing on Brave and Frozen.
It's a perfume commercial turned into an action film. Sure. And it is so funny. The Charlize Theron comes out of Emily Blunt is looking at herself in the mirror as the Queen of Ice. And she goes, mirror, mirror in the wall, who's the fairest of them all? And then Charlize Theron comes out of the mirror and goes, does this answer your question? And then Queen of Ice asks Queen of Gold.
I love that
But-
you exclusively
think
call
they
them-
have names.
Queen of Ice asks Queen of Gold, but sister, are you dead? And the Queen of Gold goes, not dead, but not alive. Just somewhere in between. And you can tell that the creators of the film don't know the answer.
Sure.
They do not know the answer.
That's so crazy.
I don't think that film had a script or anything. Like you said, it was just they designed
Right.
It
costumes,
was gorgeous
and visual
improv.
effects.
It was
right,
the most
exactly.
beautiful. It was
And they were like, "Look,
gorgeous,
this will cut
expensive
together."
It's the most expensive herald ever made.
improv. Yeah. Also, the Queen of Ice's wardrobe, I read or saw that she was meant to look soft and hard at the same time. In a very like Scissorhands
Yeah.
kind of way,
Yeah,
where
yeah,
it's
yeah.
like she is a queen and she's beautiful, but she's also like this kind of like warrior.
Yes.
So she wears
right.
a lot of like chainmail skirts.
Sure. Scissor
anyway,
feet.
Yeah.
Are there any other, just before we wrap up, sort of like Burton style icons that you want to like pinpoint throughout the rest of the filmography? Are there other Burton looks that like have stood out to you over the years?
Other Burton looks. I mean, anything that becomes
The Halloween costume.
like Beetlejuice
Sure.
is like, wow, just like wild hair and stripes.
Yeah,
and
you're
then
you're pro stripes.
and the not normally, but I just thought that was great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
I'm so glad we
for
made it
this.
happen.
Yeah.
You've been like out of the country filming, and we got you like just in time.
Just in time, because you're going somewhere.
I'm going on a little vacay.
Great.
Going on a little vacay.
Good for you.
Thank
He's
you.
going on a vacay. That means, fans, listen,
Oh,
that Glass is going to post a little late on the 20th.
that's the thing that it means.
Yeah.
We have seen Glass already. I am now going on a trip, and right when I land, we're going to record
Processing
the
it.
episode.
You're going on a trip to process Glass, and then you'll.
Right.
Yeah.
But I'll give you my hot take. David, I'll let you say the hot take.
No, what Glasser piece?
It's a Glasser piece.
Wow.
Definitely.
I think
My
most
review
people
will have already posted.
will disagree with us.
Most people other film critics are angry with me and keep saying things like, explain yourself. Anytime I'm like, I liked it. I thought it was good.
They thought we were trolling them.
Right. They thought we were
Wow.
just kidding.
We were genuinely effusive. Like, I was like grinning ear to ear at the end of the movie, like riding a high. I was chanting
Yeah,
M.
like
Night.
Queen of Ice is Queen of Gold for
I
me. I'm
felt like that.
Perfect movie.
Yes, that's what I felt like.
Yeah.
I went, this is a Glasser piece.
Yeah.
Right.
I
And-
felt that when I saw Valerian and the City of a Thousand Planets.
I mean, don't get this guy started.
I saw it.
masterpiece.
I was away. I was in Scotland, and I hadn't read anything about the critical reception or the box office for Valerian and the City of a Thousand Planets. And I go in hoping for the best, and I come out and think timeless classic.
Sure.
Well, that's
sure.
what it is.
I come out and think perfect,
You're right.
absolutely
It is
perfect.
perfect.
And then
It's a
I
great
read
movie.
that everyone hated it.
Not
And I was
me.
like, what?
David put it on his top 10 of the year.
I did. And I raved it in the pages of The Atlantic, which
Yeah.
was founded by Ralph Waldo Emerson and Harriet Beecher Stowe.
Wow.
And then later I wrote about Valerian.
Yeah, they died for your sins. Well, Los Spookies will be premiering sometime this year.
Oh, sometime this year, supposedly.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you're one of the best in the biz.
Oh, thank you. That's very sweet. You are too.
Thank you. Are you?
Two people are best in the biz.
Yes. And David is also the
No,
best in
I'm
the biz.
already-
Everyone
and
is the
Yeah.
best. in
Another
the
person
biz.
who's the best in the biz is producer Ben, aka the Ben Deucer, aka the Poet Laureate, aka the Haas, aka Mr. Positive, aka Mr. Positive, aka the Peeper, aka Hello Fennel, Fart Detective, Meat Lover, Smoking Wet Benny, White Hot Benny.
These are all my nicknames. You could,
Oh,
you
okay.
could go.
Graduate
I've been
certain calls over the
yeah.
course of
dying
different
to pee. Where's the
miniseries.
bathroom?
Such as-
so down the hallway.
Kylo
and
Ben.
The code is 213.
213.
Yeah.
I'll be right back.
Producer Ben Kenobi, Ben Night Shyamalan, Ben
yeah,
Sate,
so two-
Say
two
Anything,
for-
Aliens with the $sign.
I
Warhaz,
think
Purdue
that
or
went
Bane,
well.
Ben 19, the
Yeah.
Fennel Maker.
Really insightful.
Robo Haas, Mr. Ben Credible. Am I forgetting one? Ben Glish, obviously. Eat Drink Ben Hosley is
Yeah,
in
I'm-
there.
I'm all right.
And then I'm just trying to run through the memory. Who else have we covered? It's Ang
I know,
Lee,
yeah,
and
you
then
guys-
the
you
Haas
guys
Day,
had a
of
night.
course. And then we don't have a Tim
Sounded like
Burton.
Emily was telling me you're.
Oh,
Nickname.
after Critic Circle?
Yeah, I mean,
Well, hey, humble brag.
Yeah? What am I humble bragging?
New York Film Critics. Right?
I'm a member.
Hey, you know what?
what?
Thank you all for listening. Please remember to rate, review, subscribe. Thanks to Guido for our social media, Joe Bone and Pat Reynolds for our artwork, Lane Montgomery for our theme song. Go to blankies.reddit.com for some real nerdy shit. Go to TeePublic for some real nerdy shirts. Remember, sign up for Blank Check special features, our Patreon show at patreon.com/Blank Check. And as always,
Because we got new stuff coming out soon. New merch.
new merch.
Announced next week.
Announced next week.
Preview.
Episode 200.
Can you imagine 200 of these?
200. We're breaking some glass for episode 200.
We are breaking glass, but it'll come out a little late.
It'll come out late on Sunday, early
Yeah.
Monday.
Right.
Yes.
That's just because of vacation scheduling. It won't
Let
be typical.
me
So
vacay.
all you friggin' nerds, okay, hold on to your hammers. Don't be sliding and messaging me and yelling at me. It'll be out.
Let me vacay, please. And as always,
All set. Whenever you
We're all
wanna-
set.
Do you have it pulled up?
Do I have it? No. What do you
Yeah.
want me to pull up?
Go to IMDb.
All right.
He's gonna do some quote from the movie,
Okay.
and then he's gonna put podcast.
It's gonna be stupid.
I butcher a quote.
To be
That's how
clear.
I open the
Oh,
show
got it.
every
Okay.
episode.
Start this.
So you have to say you could have gone up there. You could still go, and then you say, "How do you know he's still alive?"
Oh my god.
Let me just get in the character quickly. I'm trying to channel. Can you imagine you're wearing 40 pounds of prosthetic makeup?
I don't know if it's 40
It wasn't bad
pounds.
makk-up.
I think it's really good.
Yeah.
It's good
It wasn't bad makeup at all.
I remember. Well, I'll save this. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
And really feel the character.
Uh-huh.